present to you
KCCA has taken a number of steps to address this sanitation challenge, which include, but not limited to the following: the setup,
Welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulis, we really believe.
My name is David Okwi, and I'm the shop manager here at Oduka. Our vision is really to bring technology closer to the people, closer to you, tech that you can afford, tech that lasts, tech that is durable, and tech that you can use to simplify your life. My inspiration behind starting Oduka came from the fact that I've been blogging or writing about tech for the past 10 years, but the stuff that I've been writing about has not been locally available in the market. So what we did is, let's bring this technology to the people. So we really had to start a store, an actual store that you can order today and then have the product delivered to you tomorrow. So currently we launched with mobile accessories. Think a car phone charger, car phone mount, iPhone charger, micro USB, Type-C, charging accessories like this power extension here with 4 ports that you can use to charge your phone, as well as the other ports for appliances. We test our products and make sure that they're up to standard. We vet our suppliers. We don't just get any supplier. Other than the fact that COVID-19 has forced you to sell online, there are very many advantages why you should do that. One of the advantages is the convenience that you're bringing to your customers. 2 is that you have a wide market that expands beyond your working clients. We intend to grow, to bring more tech, to bring tech to the everyday user out there, and to bring really good tech. In order to do that, we intend to scale our product categories and to also cement our position as a leader in electronic products.
It is a creative industry talk. My name is Eddie Okela and welcome to the program. This is House of Talent Television, where we bring you issues that affect the person, the common person every single day, and we discuss it, dissect, and find answers to it. The Creative Industry Talk is a program that brings together the creative brains, a platform for every one of us to be able to think creatively, to discuss issues that affect us, but of course, discuss the products that we have in the market. How do we work with this? How do we create prices here, there, and what those things? Everyone is creative in their, in their rights or in their way, or on their rights or on their way, depending on which English you use. But creativity exists in every single one of us. And when we were in school, they said, any mistake in art is creativity. So we were always taught the same, and the products we have in the market is meant to solve the problem. But are we looking at it that way? Do we make things look that way, or do we think creatively in every process that we have? To discuss this today on the program is the one and only David Okwi, is the founder and the shop manager of Oduka Stores. We still don't understand why he called himself the shop manager, but perhaps today we are going to understand this on the show. David, welcome to the program. Here we spread love like this. You need to do it correct. Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Welcome to the program, David.
Thank you, Okela, for hosting me.
Great. And we want to start from a lighter note, David, by first of all knowing you. Who is David Okwi in a nutshell? Where do you come from? What are you? Are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
Yeah, first of all, I'll best describe myself as an internet entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That is as short as it can be. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I live and breathe the internet, and my livelihood solely comes from the internet. Yeah.
Wow. David, talking of the internet, living and breathing internet, growing up, where and which part of this country do you hail from?
So I grew up from Jinja, along the shores of the River Nile.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just you know where the new bridge is?
Yeah.
Yes, you know that industry there?
Yes.
Nightil.
Yes.
Did you use Nightil bedsheets?
All through, in even uniforms for high schools, we were used to wear Nightil. Yes.
Yes, yes. It's an incredible industry. So my dad used to work there, and used to stay around the estate just close to the industry. And yeah, I think I went once to swim on the river, river banks.
Where the hydroelectricity is produced, David?
On this side.
To commit suicide?
No, it was on this side of the reservoir. You know where there is that lot of water.
Yes, yes.
So the water is kind of still, it doesn't move very fast. And so at the river banks, you can actually swim.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talking of that, if I'm watching you from, let's say, Dallas in the US or in the UK, from anywhere, and I don't know where these places are from, take us through your ancestry, where do you hail from, which part of the country do you come from, what the food they eat there, are they creative people, do they dig creatively or preserve food creatively, which part of this, what is your ancestry like, if you take us through it?
So I'm an interest. My dad is from Komi. My mom is from Kapchora, around Sipi Falls. That side, yes.
You come from where there's beauty only. Yes.
Then I grew up in Jinja most of the time. Studied in Jinja most of the time. Then in my later teens, I moved to Kampala. Yes.
Okay. So the people of Kumi, in the eastern part of the country, if we would put it, for some of us who are from the outside countries, what food do they eat and how do they preserve food? Are they creative in this process? Do they
they're very creative.
What's the process like?
So Teso is a very dry place. That's the one thing that you need to understand. Yes, we have rains like the rest of the country, but for the most part, it's a dry place. So people have to come up with ways of preserving food through the dry season so that they are able to have food. They don't starve. So Tess actually has one of the best food preservation methods out there in the country. The foods that we eat is cassava, potatoes, and these are perishables, you get. But we have a way of drying them and then you know, putting them in the granary and making sure that during the dry seasons people still are able to have food.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what is the history like behind the storage? I mean, somebody must have, of course, thought about the creative process of keeping the food for this longer period of time. I once was in Canada, and I realized that in Canada they preserve food for 6 months in the fridge during the cold season. 6 months in the fridge.
Yeah.
And that in Africa would be something else.
6 months in the fridge.
Yes,
Does the
yes.
food taste good? I don't know.
Yes, everything is freezed. I mean, it's not really tasting good. So when we compare that creativity in France, I mean, in Canada and in many parts of the world to keep food, and in Teso, you know, the eastern part of Uganda, like you've talked about, I just want to sort of like look at the creative processes, the wisdom of the elders. How did they come up with that, and how long will the food take when it's dried? For example, how long does it take? Can you package this food and sell? You know, how do you know, sort of like go about
So
this?
I don't stay much in the village, but I've been there for some long periods of time, and I've learned from like my parents and my uncles and stuff. So I'll talk mostly about cassava and potatoes. Have you heard of amukeke?
Yes.
You've had it? Eh?
Yes, I've actually eaten it. It's one of the best. I would call it Uganda's best plate for breakfast. Yes.
So for people who don't know, amukeke is dried potatoes. Yes, so they dry the potatoes, put them in the granary, and then you're able to, you know, just take a few portions of the potatoes, then you boil them. And now when you boil them, put in a little bit of salt. You can also put in OD if you want. That is,
which is simsim paste.
Ginat or simsim paste, and then you take with chai mukalo.
Wow.
It's really the best
Which
breakfast.
is black tea.
Yes.
Wow, so these guys have just given us, so this is a creativity coming from Teso. I want to just take a moment to welcome everybody to the program. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila. This morning I'm talking to, or this afternoon, this night, or this evening, depending which part of the world you are, I'm talking to David Okwi, who is, you know, an internet breather and eater, if you would say it in a nutshell, as he said it. Entrepreneur. As a man who think creatively using internet and creating stuff, and of course integration. Today in the program we want to discuss system integration. We're looking at the local content development. Everybody's talking about local content development. You've heard about local content development in oil and gas, but we're looking at local content development focusing on creative system integration, on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, Bubu. We are talking about this. And David Okwi is the founder and the shop manager at Oduka Stores, which is an online platform. I would say is the Amazon of Uganda in the making, okay? And perhaps going to go Africa. We want to just understand this, David, from your point of view. Are you a creative mind? Do you look at yourself as a creative mind? Or what is creativity to you, first of all, to start with?
So I don't look at myself as a creative in the traditional sense of a designer or an artist or a painter, all that kind of stuff. But I think that I'm creative, just like everybody else has to be creative. So to me, creativity speaks about using your imagination to solve problems. And that cuts across anyone, whether it is government or big corporations or small businesses or individuals or families and stuff. So it is really using your imagination to solve problems. That is creativity in a nutshell.
Let me take a little bit back, David. You know, growing up, you obviously went through traditional, you know, educational system that we all go through in Uganda or in Africa, in most part of Africa. But I want to just take you through a little bit. What is your background like?
In terms of education?
Yes.
I am an engineer by training or by education.
Yes. How did you become an engineer? Growing up, did you always see yourself as becoming one? How did you end up there?
I sort of gravitated more towards machines, objects, electronics and stuff. So naturally I leaned towards the engineering bit of it. I was fascinated by tech by the age of, let's say 12 years. And I grew up close to, like I said, my dad used to work in a textile industry and sometimes I would have free tours to the factory. It's really huge. Like it is, I think, one of the biggest industries in East Africa.
Yeah.
So I would move around. It's like, I don't know, maybe 5 football pitches. Yeah, so you move around, you see machines doing lots of, fancy things and all. So I was really fascinated from an early age to admire and to love engineering. Yes.
Okay. So if somebody's looking at you now would want to think that, that background shaped your way of becoming an engineer.
Yeah.
How did your parents look at it when you're growing up? Normally parents are very fascinated with certain things they want their children to do, or a certain way they want their children to become. What was like with your parents, your mother and father, when you decided to gravitate toward maths, physics and all these things?
Yeah, but my dad is an open-minded person. You literally just do whatever you want and whatever that you're really good at, and he's just there to pay the school fees.
You probably had the easiest, most, adorable dad.
Yes.
Not like ours. Some of us were always told you have to be a certain thing in life, and if you're not, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And some were caned. Some of us who were left-handed, our hands were tied on the neck so that we can become right-handed.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are quite a lot of things that goes in there.
Yeah.
So David, growing up as a creative person, from the way we looked at you, you were more leaned toward tech from a very young person age. Let's talk about, did you ever make wired cars in the pursuit of becoming an engineer and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, everyone in an estate that I grew up in, literally the boys and the girls as well, they literally, everyone made their own toys using, these wires. Yeah. So we'll go to, these fences that are made from green wires. We'll screw that up, unscrew it, and then break the wires, and then use rubber. Tie it together, then use slippers, the slippers? Yes.
Cut the hole in the to make the tire.
Cut the hole, make the tire, and then there you go with your car. And they will really be strong. You could actually use them to fetch water, using these 5-liter jerrycans.
Wow. So the creativity in Africa sprang from way back when we were children. The only thing is that our education system sort of like, cut that off our head when we started going to nursery school and primary school, and things changed. And some of us were never, good at becoming a creative person at some point, or some of us never made it. But the likes of Daudi Okwi, as we call him, have definitely been able to pursue that career and be where they are today. So David, we're talking about, you're on the creative industry talk, and we're talking about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We defined creativity from your perspective, but I want to just ask you, to you typically, what is the process of a person being creative?
What is the process? The process starts with a problem. Look at the problem that you're trying to solve, and then find ways of solving that problem in the most cost-effective way possible, using the materials, using the skills that you already possess. So if you're working with people, you have to organize people around you to come together to solve a common problem.
And when we talk about creativity from a point of creating a product, and or a brand or a product, you obviously have been into the process of creating one for yourself. And you have one in the process. Typically, take us through that. How do you start and where do you start from? Because everybody, we believe, is creative. But the level of creativity varies. Some are very intuitive in their process, others are very slow in their process. Some people need a kickstart at the back, and you just kick them up and they start waking up and they start doing it by making life hard for them, like COVID-19 came and gave some of us a butt kick, and we're doing it. And some just do it easily. But to you, did it come just naturally, easily?
I like how you described it. There is no one way of reaching the creative path. It can be chaotic, it can be organized, it can be forced, it can be out of coercion and hard times. Can come from all angles. Yeah, but I'll talk about the Oduka experience, literally, how we started the Oduka store and how we got here. We started right before lockdown in 2020, right just when the coronavirus had started. At that time, online shopping was still something that was taking off. Some people would do online shopping, others wouldn't. But when the coronavirus came, we didn't start a Oduka store because of the coronavirus, but it found us. Yes, it found us right at the beginning of the incubation. Yeah, but so how we started, how we approached the problem is that, okay, we realized there's a lockdown, there's a restriction in movement, people couldn't go to shops, and we decided to launch the store online, mostly. We had a physical store, but we said let's concentrate online first. And then when you launch an online store, there are basically a number of things that you have to nail. You have to nail a way of people discovering you and finding you, because it is not like a store that people walk in and then find your products. You have to find a way of storing your goods. You have to find a way of delivering the product to the customer. You have to find a way of people paying you eventually. And then you have to find a way of managing customer relations or customer care. So we had all these facets, and we needed to bring them together and put them in a product or a service that could work in this market at that time. So COVID helped us in a way because it accelerated the trend towards online shopping. For the very first time, some people made an order online for the very first time. Not because they wanted.
Because COVID gave them a kick.
Because, as you said, the creative process, that kick, you know, it forced them to make purchases online for the very first time. And when you do something for the very first time and it works, it becomes a part of you. You say, oh, okay, this thing actually works. And then before you know it, it becomes a lifestyle, it becomes the norm, it becomes the new normal. You realize, this is how it should work. It should have been this way all along.
Wow.
So, yes, the hard times accelerated our creativity as well. And it helped us reach that goal. Yes, so we just had to play around with delivery, make sure that the product reaches the customer as early as possible, make sure that we had convenient payment methods. You could either pay cash on delivery or you could use mobile money. So we had very flexible payment methods that were convenient to the customer. We were not rigid at all. So yeah, that's how it worked for them.
Wow. Well, you're hearing David Okwi right here on the Creative Industry Talk. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will dive into the discussion of, local content development, focusing on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. David will define that, his understanding of that a little bit, but then we dive into our main discussion today, which is system integration. He's talked about mobile money and his system and how it works and how they started. We want to know, how do you integrate all of these things together, and how can we, the creative people who create products like David, begin to use the system and integrate the system to be able to, sell products without you having to go there should coronavirus continue, should we go into another lockdown, how do you deal with it? Stay right there, I'll be right back after the break. This is Creative Industry Talk. Eddie Okila, David Okwi, we'll be right back after the break.
When we start the Baimba Festival, or starting Baimba in general, for me it took me like 3 years of thought, of thinking. And as I went to Echitobero, I went to Uganda, I traveled around East Africa. And one of the reasons actually, which I rarely talk about, was when I was traveling around Lake Victoria. I was doing a documentary about the lives of the people who live around the LVB, the Lake Victoria Basin. Yes. I went to Kisumu, I went to Mwanza, and I realized actually all these people have so much in common. but they know little about each other.
Yeah.
Yet they are all surviving on this same lake.
Yes.
So for me, it was very interesting. It kind of also brought back, like, the arts are the same. The arts were the same because we realized that we are all feeding onto each other. The musicians, the theater, the dance, the painters, and the writers. But we all had our own ways. We were separate. Everyone is doing their own thing. And I think bringing them together in one place was a creative process to kind of cultivate that space that was missing. So I think this is, for me, where I could see the processes of really going through the idea, understanding it, convincing yourself, finding the value, finding the strategic, the impact it's going to create, add on to the industry. And also when, like at Bayimba, when we are going through our creative processes of thinking about strategically what are we going to do, it takes quite some time when you have conversations with your staff, your colleague, the sector. Sometimes we ask people questions 1 month after the other, and sometimes I feel, so I'm like, okay, and they don't feel like Bayimba is asking us too much, But I think it's important for us because we need to understand why are we doing what we're doing? How are we going to improve? And how can we do better? Where did we go wrong? And of course, sometimes you get some, advice, which is not, liked, but at the same time, it's good for you to hear it from the people that you're serving. So that process, for me, it's important. And to be innovative at the end of the day, you have to be impactful. You have the product has to be useful to the people that it's going to serve.
Okay. Faisal, fear is the greatest enemy of innovation.
Yeah.
And quite often, most people start their thinking to create something. The innovation of, I want to innovate something, they think I want to innovate this kind of solution. And most times, somebody asks and says, do you have the money to start this thing? Do you know this takes a lot of money to do this? And before we know it, we shelve the idea and we don't do something about it.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that, given your experience from going around the Lake Victoria basins in 3 years of trying to create Bayimba, and who was, by the way, funding you? Because that's another problem that we often have. The fear of not having the money will kill the innovation. You can stay with something which is very good for so long just because you don't have the money, or you don't know how to go about it, or you fear you will fail.
Yeah, I think I'm a student of failure, and I think it's very important as innovators to study failure because it's a very good beginning of building courage.
Okay.
If you don't fail, then you can't be stronger. And people can tell you that the first Bayimba was a failure, and it was a big lesson for me because I totally failed. My friend told me, I'll not mention him, he told me, Faisal, this brand is dead. Because, and I was like, yeah, you're right, but I'll prove you wrong.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila. In the studio is David Okwi, the founder and the shop manager at Oduka Stores, an online stores in Uganda that is selling electronic products. And of course, he's on the show today to discuss Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We are focusing on local content production, but we're going to gear our production, rather our discussion towards, system integration. You've heard from David, how they've created the Oduka and how they were able to sell things online. And some Ugandans being able to order things for the first time online. And if you're one of those who want to hear from you, what was your experience like? Share it with us far and wide. We'd like to hear from you. David, welcome back to the program. I want to just take a moment to read some comments from some people here, David, that has come in the middle of the show. We just want to hear from them and what are they saying. I'll start first with a gentleman here and says, that's my OB from Nameliango, David Okwi, has always been a young man who is creating things and trying things. Thanks, kudos, David. And I have another one here saying, Edukila, thank you very much for bringing David Okwi to the show. He's always been a very creative mind. He's a brilliant mind in the IT world. I think we need to harness people like David on that topic of system integration. I want to ask David, how did you start creating your own product and bringing your own product out? How did it work? I know you've shared a bit about it, but it's not easy, man, trying something new. David, you've had that coming out there for you. And another person says, Eddie Killer, thank you very much for the program. I would like to know how Ugandans are using technology to harness the new normal of COVID-19 going forward. I know you talked about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, but sometimes Ugandans' products are so weak that when you see them on the shelf versus the one that is brought from China, you better not going for the one from China. I think, David, we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, how we're talking about it. That basically launches to our discussion today, David.
Yeah.
Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We've been talking about this, and everybody's talking about local content. In the oil and gas, they're talking about local content.
Right.
Now, what is local content development to you?
Okay. So I'll start with a quote, or somebody said that Africa is the only continent that produces what it doesn't consume and consumes what it doesn't produce.
Yes.
There's truth in it, actually.
Yeah.
And that is what we want to change, or what we should change with Bubo. In essence, we should be consuming what we produce and produce what we consume, not the other way around. You don't produce stuff, send it to China, creates a product out of it and sells back to you, and you're not really creating enough value out of your raw materials, right? Yes. So with Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, you're literally saying, okay, can we consume what we produce for the very first time? What that does is that you create enough value for everyone in the economy, and you create a lot of opportunities and prosperity for everyone.
Wow. But you heard it from David. And David, we want to just, just a moment to tell everybody, if you're having a problem with your internet, streaming on Facebook or go to our website, www.houseoftalentuganda.com, or go to our YouTube, House of Talent TV, and you'll be able to have no problem at all as the government of Uganda continue to negotiate its way with Facebook. Sometimes it can be very disturbing. So for all of you guys, we're live on Facebook, on Twitter. We're live on our own website, okay, www.houseoftalentug.com, or you go to YouTube, subscribe, share it far and wide. David, that's a nice description of that. So when we're talking about local content, Buy Uganda and Build Uganda,
right,
do you think that we have been able to, Ugandans understand this, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda?
Yeah.
Do they understand? And if yes, to what extent?
So there are two different Ugandans in this spectrum here. You have the consumers, and then you have the producers, and both of them need each other, and they need to understand this concept for this thing to work. If I'm a producer and I'm creating stuff and there is no one who is consuming, then it doesn't make sense at all. And the other way around, if I'm a consumer buying things from outside and not buying the stuff that the producers in the economy are creating, then it doesn't make sense. So it is two sides of the same seesaw that needs to work together in order to make this really work.
Okay. And we've had people from the Ministry of Trade talk about this. But there's also an outcry out there, like you've had somebody already asking you a question, saying that it's nice to talk about Ugandan local content, but he's saying that when you look at a Ugandan local content on the shelf versus the product brought from Kenya, he would go for the one from Kenya. He said the one in Uganda is not very enticing, which takes us to branding and product development and communication, which is a discussion we've set to have with an expert coming in at some point into the program as we progress in discussion of the local content. But specifically, how were you able to package your product locally made here, package your product and be able to sell to people, even though some of them are imported products?
Yeah, so to respond to that user, that's a consumer right there,
Yes, yes.
saying that, yes, I want to buy your stuff
Yeah.
that, people in the economy are producing,
Yeah.
but they don't live up to my standards. They don't live up to my expectations. And since we are living in a free market economy where people are willing to, pay willingly with their money, they are, they're just going to sidestep your product and they're going to buy the product that they think fits their standards.
Yeah.
So once again, it goes back to both the consumer and the producer. The producer has to meet up to the standards of the consumer.
Yeah.
So if the consumer wants, let's say, this coffee up to a certain standard, if that coffee doesn't meet my standard, I'm not going to buy it. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, you're putting your hard-earned money and your time and whatnot, but it doesn't meet my standard. And since we are living in a free market economy where no one is coerced to buy a certain product, then you're going to lose out. So the producers have to meet that standard that the consumers are expecting at the price that they want it.
Wow. David, I want to read something coming in for you. Somebody has said, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for the program. I like what David Ukwi is talking about, but I want to know, when I go to Oduka stores, the branding looks really deep, and most people in Uganda, when they create products, they spend a lot more time in creating the products and not the look and feel of the product. How was he able to, come up with that mindset to create something that looks like this? It's not a typical Ugandan website where you go there and the branding is looking so weird and not good. Perhaps a lesson can be picked from David Ukwi. What did he live abroad, or was he working with some people abroad, or the website is basically designed abroad? That's the question there for you, David. Yes.
No. The website is designed and developed strictly from Uganda by Ugandans, and I'm actually part of the team, the developers. But I think you heard Jeremy Banyanzi here. Yes, we were saying about branding and all that. And I liked his talk. And basically it boils down to a brand is your promise. What are you promising the customer, right? And can you live up to that promise? That's what it is. It is, brand is who you are. It speaks a lot about you as an individual first and foremost, and what you're bringing out to the market. Yes, when you look at for example, the House of Talent branding, which I absolutely love and adore, it's delivering a certain promise, it's delivering a certain message, and it's saying we are here and we are all about local content, we are all about local talent, and we are here to develop really great content that is informative, that is there to build the country and the nation. That is what a brand is, more than the colors and all these cosmetics that come to augment that brand. Yes.
Well, we're talking to David Ukwi, and you're on the Creative Industry Talk. We're discussing local content development. Of course, it's a broad topic. Everybody is talking about local content development. But products out of Uganda, locally we are creating these products. Who is consuming them? Can they stand the test of time? Do they have the value? Can we export this product going forward? That's what we're talking about. We want to dive more deep into this topic with David Ukwi, talking about system and e-commerce and system integration. David, a lot of times we've discussed so many things about e-commerce. COVID-19, of course, came and opened up the door for this to work in Uganda.
Right.
We were forcefully taken into a lockdown, and somehow the president kept saying, use borders to buy things, buy vegetables from there.
Yeah.
And it started to work out slowly, deliveries are there and there. But the downsides of some of these things that we're talking about was ability for the money to move from one end to the next. There are times when the mobile money system is completely down. You send your money, and then the mobile telecom guys tells you, you call customer care service, we will work on this thing in 24 hours. You have food, you need food, and this deliverer or the producer of the product is not going to deliver the product to you because you need food, you're in the lockdown, and you're being told 48 hours. It brings a question to mind, David. What is e-commerce? Is it understood in the African context, for example? In Europe, we understand, but in Africa, is it understood? And let's zero down to Uganda.
Yeah, we have to contextualize it. The way that Amazon works is not going to be the way, it will never work in Uganda here, because you have certain infrastructure that allows for Amazon to work in the US or in Europe. You have the postal, the post office system, you have the good housing structure with plot numbers, and you know, you have a delivery system, logistics network already built in there. You have a payment method powered by Visa and credit card. There is a whole infrastructure that has already been laid for hundreds of years, way before Amazon even, you know, came into the market.
Yeah.
And for us, we have managed to leapfrog some of those things. For example, we don't have a telephone system. Do you have a telephone at home? The landline.
Yes, yes. Which is wireless, it's chargeable, it can go off.
Yeah.
The traditional one we had with UTL is no longer working as it used to be, yes.
So we leapfrogged the, you know, the telephone system as we know it to mobile phones. Yeah. It does the same thing. It's all about communication. Excuse me. It does exactly the same thing. So here we have borders which are really agile and fast. They can, you know, cut through jam, and they know the local places and all that. In Europe, you probably have vans and all, you know, trucks.
Even riders themselves, yes, yes.
Exactly. So we have different sorts of infrastructure, and we have to find ways that we have to design systems that work with the existing infrastructure. Yes, and that is what e-commerce or Duka is trying to do and adapt. Where we don't have payment system like Visa, can we use alternative payment methods that the customer can still use, right? And we've actually seen a lot of progress and success in adoption of, say, cash on delivery and mobile money on delivery. Yes. So somebody is not going to pay upfront on mobile money, but they're going to wait until the delivery guy comes, and then they pay using mobile money. Then you ask yourself, why did they pay?
Earlier before using mobile money, yes.
On the website.
Yeah.
But this is the economy. This is your customer. The customers prefer that they see the product, or the package, you have arrived, okay, now let me pay. Okay. Because trust isn't yet built for online businesses. There are a lot of shady guys out there. They can fleece you, they can, you know, run away with your money. What are you going to do? And it has happened. So people are skeptical. The trust system is still built in, and stores like Oduka are coming up to rebuild that trust and say, okay, you can trust us. You can order and pay online, and then your order will come. Yeah. Yes. So those are some of the things that we are trying to do in the market. Yeah.
David, there has been a very serious issue here in the market before. In fact, it's an ongoing challenge as we speak right now. The banking system versus the mobile system.
Yeah.
Somehow COVID-19 came in and people were not working, and a lot of people were not earning.
Yeah.
But already it was a problem that was brewing there.
Yeah.
That the economy started slowing down because of politics and elections and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's been going on for some time.
Yeah.
People started to, high taxation started to make people keep money in their bedrooms or in their, you know, under their beds.
Yeah.
Or some in a box. And then of course the high rate of corruption in the public system.
Yeah.
Have also, you know, sort of like made it difficult for people to put money in the bank.
Yeah.
Now, there's a time when people are not putting money in the bank. There's a time when you put your money in the bank, and then when you want to use your money, they make it very difficult for you to use the money.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a time when you have money, you want to bank it.
Yeah.
And then the banking system using mobile money you have on mobile money to put in the bank is also giving you a time. So people get frustrated. And you know what? Let me just keep my money, because why am I struggling with this? When I put my money in the account, they make life difficult for me to get it. When I finally give them my money, they make life difficult for me. My hands just keep my money there.
Yeah.
This has been going on for some time.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating for a customer who is trying to buy goods and services, you know, online.
Yeah.
You have been a system developer and an IT person and a software developer, we want to know from you, if I am a creative mind,
Yeah.
and I've created a product, say for example, you know, Okela Health and Services, my service is about making people fit, health and fit, and I want to be able to record a video and send it to that person.
Yeah.
And when the lockdown, somebody is in Nigeria, just want to pay.
Yeah.
That's another discussion altogether. The world doesn't trust a Nigerian visa and all this stuff. You talked about trust issues.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for me. How do we build trust and continue to build a system that is more harmonious in a way that I can bank my money easily, I can use my money as and when I want,
Yeah.
I can buy goods and services as I want, because what you've talked about there is basically typically come back to this frustrations around the systems.
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
make this work?
So I'll start by saying that money is just information.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we say, when the bank says, when you go into your bank account and you see maybe 50M,
Yeah.
right? It's not like the bank has your 50M, a stack of cash,
Yeah.
50M somewhere in the corner.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's not what it is. It's just information. It's
Yeah.
just saying we owe you 50M.
Yes, yes.
That is all. Probably that money has already been lent.
Yeah,
to
but I'm a
some-
border
some-
man. I've taken my sack. I have given you my money on the sack in there. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That the bank is going to lend it to somebody else.
Yes.
It's never going to stay in the bank at all.
Yes.
Money is information. It's just digits, right, in a database in the banking system that says, well, we owe Eddie Okila 50M, and we should be able to give it to him whenever he wants. So when you go and withdraw that money, you're basically just liquidating. You're converting those digits into hard cash.
Yeah.
If at all you want the hard cash, if you're paying for something online or at the counter, we are just converting, we're just transferring those digits from one system to another.
Yeah.
So the most flexible system should actually be money, because it's just digits, it's just information.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's not.
Yes.
Very hard
Yeah.
to move money, probably for a lot of reasons,
Yeah.
money laundering, trust issues, regulation,
Yeah.
and all that. But again, this is where creativity comes in.
Yeah.
The banks need to be creative around how can we make money fluid. It should flow freely like information. You know, when you go to your Twitter stream and you see, you know, the feed flowing with content and news and images and all that, it should really be fluid, because money is just information. It's just digits. That is all. Of recent, we've seen the emergence of agent banking, which has sort of improved and made the processes a lot more faster.
Yeah.
Yes, the banking system is built on a very rigid and expensive system or setup. You know, a banking hall has all these sophistications built in, the design of the banking hall, the security, the tellers, the what. And whenever a bank is going to open up a branch in a certain location,
Yeah.
there is a lot of investment that has to go in before they do. So they do the math and maybe they don't open a branch somewhere or not. So agent banking reduces all those costs associated with opening up a branch in a particular location.
Yeah.
Yes, and it uses agents or people that have a stripped down version of a bank in locations that are closer and more convenient to people, mostly to, I would say, liquidate money. When you need to go to the bank, you want to withdraw to have the hard cash.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, if money is left to be solely digital, then you probably don't need a banking hall at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to pay for something, that can be done digitally or electronically. If you want to, I don't know what is money used for. It's basically for paying for goods and services.
Yes, yes.
Right, and that is just a matter of, you know, deducting your bank account and crediting my bank account. And that can be done electronically.
You make it look sound easy,
Yes.
David, but
That's what it is.
yeah, but it's not as easy as that, because sometimes I know you've talked about the agent banking, and the agent banking has come in this era in time.
Yeah.
But people are not trusting. You know, in some incidents in Kenya, we've had the agent banker being attacked and being robbed, and in the process money is lost. And this in Kenya has happened before.
Yeah.
It's stabilized. It's more stable in Kenya than it is in Uganda.
Yeah.
In Uganda, it's just beginning to take effect. Some of this creativity we're talking about in the financial sector.
Yeah.
In Tanzania, it's almost the same. In East Africa, it's almost the same. But there's this old fear that, what if my money I give to David, who is an agent banker, and he doesn't get there? What sort of system does the bank and the agent banking person have that sort of like give me security that that thing you're talking about digitally, if it's punches like this and I give 10 million to the agent banker, and how quickly is this money going to, how quickly is this, what kind of system do they have to this money to reflect on my bank account, so that when I log on to whatever app I have for banking system, I'm able to see money immediately?
Right.
What kind of system that we should be looking into to sort of like build our neutralize our fear?
All right.
Yes.
So I'm not a banker, I'm not in the banking system, but this is what I know. Before you probably become a banking agent, you will have to go through a verification process.
Yeah.
You'll have to send in the paperwork. Maybe you have to be registered, your national ID, you know, things that prove that you are an authentic person, you are a citizen, and you do legitimate business.
Yeah.
So before you sign up to being an agent, you're going to have to go through that verification. Then number two, during transactions themselves, when I go and deposit money to an agent, to a banking agent, I'm going to get a receipt, number one, and then number two, I'm going to get an SMS on my phone that says, okay, this transaction has been validated, it has been authenticated, money is in your account. And then you as an individual, before you leave, you probably have your banking app there. You can go and check your bank balance and verify that, yes, money is now deposited on your account. So these are all checks and balances that the banks and their agents can implement to make sure that, you know, they earn trust from the customers that, you know, this system works and that their money is secure. That is really very important.
David, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be discussing one thing. In fact, 4 questions which we're going to be discussing to wrap up this. It's going to be about system integration, but we're talking to David Okwi, the founder and the shop manager at Oduka Stores, an online platform in Uganda that started a few years ago and is building, and people are able to buy electronic gadgets from there online, seeing that they order and is delivered to them. It's something that is new, something that is working. It's a local content created in Uganda to make life easier for you to order electronics, genuine electronic stuff. Of course, you can go and check them out, oduka.stores.com. You'll be able to find a lot more information from there. And of course, we're talking about local content development in Uganda, focusing our discussion on, system integration. Buy Uganda, build Uganda. System integration. What does it mean to say buy Uganda and build Uganda? And how do we integrate system to be able to make sure that some of the things we're talking about is actually feasible, is working, and it's consumable for a consumer out there, but also it's usable for a producer out there of the product. Stay right there, I'll be right back after the break. This is the Creative Industry Talk. Eddie Okila, David Okwi. We'll be right back after the break.
Of the pack. It helps you become the trendsetter. Humankind is set in a way that they will always have a thing for the pioneer of things.
Yeah.
So we see it, if you think about these big corporations we see in Uganda and how they advertise and the different promotions they bring, you will somehow the target market will always have the pioneer front of mind. So for me, creativity, that is how important it is, because you will get the masters, you'll be an A-lister on the papers. But if you do not know how to channel, because there's not one company in the arts or in business, as we know it, there's not a company that hires more than 10 people, and all of them are not creative. There is always creativity in a company.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the program. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela, and this is House of Talent Television. You officially logged on to. Go to our website, www.houseoftalentuganda, and hook yourself up with this broadcast. You will be very amazed. And of course, we are live on YouTube, House of Talent TV. Go there, subscribe, share it far and wide to your grandmother, grandfather, sisters, cousins, everybody in the family. Make sure that they are in sync with this digital era discussion that we're having right now with David Okwi. David Okwi, welcome back to the program. He is the founder and the chief everything, as they like to say, of odukastores.com. David, welcome back to the program. I just want to take you down to some of the questions that came in there. Somebody says, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for this discussion. Enjoying the discussion, is watching from Mukono, and he says that I want to ask that gentleman, he's talked about the banking system, he's talked about the system development. What is the process involved in creating an app if I have a restaurant and I want my restaurant to go far and wide so that people can order food from my app so I can have control? That's something that you'll have to talk about. You're a software developer, and people want to know how that works. And it says, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing David Okwi to the program. Again, I want to know from that gentleman, if I have, if I have a business like mine, I think he does. He's Adobe. He cleans clothes, and he says, if I have a business like mine, Adobe, and I want to have an app which tells people that I clean clothes, and you can bring your clothes to me, and I can send borders or whatever to drop it and pick it. How much does it cost? It looks like it's so much money according to him. I mean, again, this is something we talked about it. Welcome back, guys. We want to talk about system integration, and I that Dawoodi is plugged in very well. You've talked about buying stuff online, paying stuff online. Now, of course, we still have challenges, but there are a lot of systems created. The banking system has a system that they use. The mobile telecommunication companies have a system that they use. How can this system be integrated together so that we're able to sort of like be able to pay for goods and services seamlessly without having a problem?
Right.
If I need something from here, and then the creative industry TV talk is all about solution for this. And I want to just make people understand that, creativity in business is a nifty way of thinking, all right? And that's always inspires the person, challenges the person to think beyond, and helps people to find innovative and creative ideas of solutions for their problems. Like you've talked about, you are an engineer. Engineering is about finding problems and solving problems. On that note, David, what is creativity in system integration to you? For example, I want to just look at payment for goods and services in Uganda. From your perspective, how can this be integrated?
Yes. Thank you very much. That's a good question. It all starts from, yes, it starts with a problem, but it also involves the customer, the user, the person who is ultimately going to use these systems. Yeah. You can build the most sophisticated system out there, but if the customer is not integral into the design of the system, then it won't work. I think it's called user design,
Yes, I mean, human-centered design.
Thank you.
Yes.
Human-centered design, yes. So the user has to be at the center of the design of the problem that you're trying to solve. Yeah. And so that when you solve it, the user is the first to adapt it and use it. Yeah. Yes. So it begins from there. Now, about all these payment systems and how they should be integrated, we need to think about the customer. How do they work? How do they live? And then how do they pay for goods and services? So when I go to the market to buy groceries, right? I'm buying maybe tomatoes, milk, whatnot. How am I paying for those goods and services? How much do I have? How much am I willing to spend? All those are, and then how fast do I want it to happen. So the thing about cash is that, one, it is really fast. So if you have tomatoes of 1,000, I'm just going to pull out 1,000 shillings and give it to you.
Yes.
And then I have my tomatoes.
Yes.
That is in a split of a second.
Yeah.
Now, you come up and say, no, let's get that out of the way. We have a better solution here. You know, we're just going to give you a POS machine, and then when a customer comes with their card, they're going
By
to...
POS, you mean point of sale?
Yes, yes, yes. And then they're going to, you know, swipe their card and then going to pay. The question is it going to be as fast as the system that I already use? Is it going to be similar or even better than the system that I'm already used to? Is it going to be faster than that cash system that I'm, you know, used to? So that's the question. If it is not, people are going to shun it. They're not going to use it because cash is fast. It's the system that, the thing that I've been using has been working. As the old saying goes, if it is not broken, then, you know, don't try to fix it. Yeah. Yes, it's the same thing.
Wow. David, that's a good answer there. I hope people are actually taking note of that. We're talking about system integration in this whole thing about content creation, product development by Uganda, build Uganda. You have a very good product, but your payment system is so weak. I can't use mobile money to pay you, or the mobile money network I'm using, things like AfriCell, who are now running away from the market, are not able to deliver, you know, the network for me to pay the other side. It's a problem for me, it's a frustration for a customer, and they'll have a problem. That said, David, what are the 5 creative system integration, in bracket, cooperation methods for local products to adapt at this, you know, stage of COVID-19 situation that we're in? What 5, you know, nuggets or nuggets or whatever we call it in Africa, can you give us that we can look into and say, okay, integrative, I mean creatively, this system can be integrated from this point to this point to this point to make this. I'm a local producer. I want to know what to do.
Okay, so at the core of it all is that you have to adapt.
Yes.
Right. So, for example, now during COVID-19, we know that most people are working from home.
Yes.
And working from home means Zoom calls and all that. Zoom calls, people attending meetings, and if I'm attending a meeting and I'm in a Zoom call, then I'm probably not going to put on a suit. I'm not going to need certain clothing that I previously needed for physical meetings in corporate offices and all that. So if I'm a boutique that has been selling suits, do you think that will work in the COVID era? Probably not, because now people are not wearing suits anymore for their meetings. They are you probably have to think about something that is well suited for that particular, for the change that has happened. Yes, the same thing when we look at telcos. For example, voice was a big deal, but now when work from home started, there's a huge demand in internet. Everybody needed internet for attending meetings, for attending school, online learning, and all that. But you know what happened? The telcos didn't deliver, and they didn't quickly adapt to the change that required them to be relevant and satisfactory to their customers. Internet became very slow. Your Zoom call was cutting all the time, and people were very frustrated because now the thing that they needed for the time was not able to adapt to the change that had happened. So you need to adapt to the change that has happened. If you fail to adapt to the change, then you're going to be booted out of the market.
Okay. What would be the second creative way? You've talked about the first one being adapt and being able to quickly switch from what was traditionally there to what is right now that we're using, which, of course, some people are still putting on their boxers and putting on their suit and sitting in their room and doing their things because that is what the meeting requires, and then they go from there. Yes, so we ask you about the question of 5 creative system integration ways and methods that local production can use to move forward. You've talked about one, adaptation, all right, adapt to the new things, and the second one, you've talked about being able to see that this product is no longer being good or needed. What can I bring in? Kitenge, shirt, what do I give these guys that I can just throw in quickly and do the thing? Maybe the third and the fourth?
Maybe the second I'll say is that empathize. which is literally put yourself in the shoes of the customer.
Yeah.
Yes, COVID has happened, you know. People are losing their jobs. You are a landlord. You're demanding 5 months in advance of rent. Does that make sense? You get? So you have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer and ask yourself, if I was in this position, how would I respond? How would I need to be treated? You know, we saw hospitals charging ridiculous amounts of fees to patients in very, very hard times. You know, they were not empathizing, they were not putting themselves in the shoes of their customers. Yes. So put yourself in the shoes of the customers and ask yourself, if it were me, how would I respond to that particular situation?
Yeah.
Yes.
And one more, David, on that system integration, the creative ways. A lot of vegetable sellers around the time of COVID, and still is going on, were not able to, you know, deliver goods and services. While because the mobile system of money, the agents didn't have money.
Right.
The banks were closed.
Right.
We're not able to put in the physical cash.
Right.
To be able to pay for the system, to be able to pay for the goods.
Yes.
And at the same time, the banks are closed. I can't go and get money.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck. And then the network was down. How can we make this system work together? That's what we're talking about, the creative system integration that allows for this system to work together, so that at no particular time should I be stuck.
Yeah.
In trying to access goods and services,
right.
Or a local product, because it was easier for me to pay for a product coming from abroad and perhaps DHL will deliver it than the one locally here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very difficult.
Yeah. So you need to be flexible. You need to think on your feet and say, okay, the situation has changed. This is what we are dealing with right now. How can I handle it? I need the customer's money, and I need to stay afloat in business. How can I achieve my end goal, right? So for example, I'll give you an example at Uduka stores. We had a physical store in Tinda, but during COVID, because of lockdown and all that, the physical store became redundant. But we're paying rent. In other words, they're just paying rent for free to the landlord, right? About 90. Close the physical store for the time being, and save that money and probably put it into something else for the business.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have to be flexible and find ways to adapt to the current situation, while achieving the end goal, which is surviving and staying in business.
Yes. All right. We're listening to the close. This is the Creative Industry Talk. Eddie Okila, David Okui. We're discussing local content development. How do you start a product? How do you, a case of Uduka store, and the founder is here. David Okui is also the shop manager. People think that you're going to have to throw a little bit more light on the, starting an online, shop, and then you being a shop manager. People think that being a shop manager is just show up in Casa Cafero or whatever, somewhere in Tinder, and then just sit there and you call yourself, I'm a shop manager. But now when you say I'm a shop manager online, they don't understand. The problem one is this guy must be crazy. There's no shop. It's virtually nothing is there. But at the back end of this thing, David, there is goods and services in the store somewhere.
Yeah.
And it requires the person to be there to make sure it works.
Yeah.
On that note, before you answer that, I want to give you this question as well.
Yeah.
So, what is the forecast of creative system integration? From an architecture, point of view, to make things work, and to come up, make things work so that a common person, like I've asked you the question, can understand.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about shop manager Uduka.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
And then people like Ron Kawamaras, and I saw him this morning talking. People don't understand them because they are on the other end. They think that they don't understand the whole concept of being an online shop manager. How does it work?
When you're an online shop manager, you're exactly that, but you're a virtual shop shop manager, let's say, or a shopkeeper, actually. Yes, you're the same person. You're similar to that person who is waiting on the counter, waiting for customers, and fulfilling their orders. Except here, that the customer is not coming to the counter to you to hand you cash and then ask you questions and all that. No, here it is you're all physically separated by distance and space, and you're literally responding to the customer and communicating to the customer through different means. The virtual tools that we have today, which is the internet, you have the phone, you have WhatsApp, you have Twitter, you have Facebook. So as a shop manager, you're scanning all these channels and waiting for all these requests from customers and answering their questions. They come in and say, okay, do you guys have this charger? Or do you guys have this headphone? Do you guys have this phone, the kind of thing? And you're responding to them and saying, okay, we have it, it costs this much, and this is how we are able to deliver it to you. So it's exactly the same thing, except that you're scanning all these virtual platforms and sales channels, responding to customer queries, and then fulfilling their orders using delivery and logistics mechanisms that are available on the market.
Okay. David, it sounds very interesting and intriguing at the same time. Were you guys also sleeping in the market during the lockdown, like the president said? That the shop owner should sleep. Were you guys also sleeping in the market like these guys in Nakasero? How was it going your end as shop managers at the time?
And so when you're running a virtual store, like Oduka, your warehouse or where you store your inventory is irrelevant to you and to the customer. It doesn't really matter where this inventory is stored. As long as it's in a secure place, it's in an easily accessible place for the person that is fulfilling that order. So that could be in your home, in your house. It could be in a rented warehouse where you pay a monthly fee to store this inventory. Yes, when an order comes in, you will have to have a mechanism of reaching out to that particular item that the customer has in the inventory or in the warehouse, and then sending it or dispatching it to the customer. Yes, so you have all these different tools, you have these different platforms that are existent right now. I think Jumia has something like that, fulfilled by Jumia, so you literally send your stock to the Jumia warehouse, and then when a customer comes in, makes an order, they're able to fulfill it on your behalf. You don't even have to do it by yourself. If you manage inventory by yourself, that inventory could be at home, or it could be in a store somewhere that is easily accessible, and when an order comes in, you reach out to that warehouse or that store, and then you send it off. Or it could be in a store that is owned by somebody else altogether, somewhere in town or wherever.
So in the spirit of system integration, we're talking about combining this system, because the border system has its own system that it operates on.
Yeah.
And Oduka has a system of people ordering stuff which you operate on. Probably a lot of internet consumption and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a manual guy who just jump on the border, fuel the bike, and off he hits the road. How do you integrate these two systems together? When you order, Edio Killer, the border rider in Kampala is going to get to know it now, or you still have to make a phone call, and then Edio Killer has to go through some police checkpoints there, dodging things at 6 o'clock to get to you. Some point is arrested, or he probably knocks somebody trying to run away from police, and he said, how do you integrate these things together?
Okay.
Your story makes sense.
So there are different layers here. There is your store, there is your warehouse, or there is the inventory, there is the ordering platform, which is your website, or it could be a marketplace like Jumia, Gigi, or your own website, or it could be on excuse me, on WhatsApp or your Facebook page or Twitter. Then there is the logistics network that can be managed by your own network of border guys. My border guy. Or it can be a third party like Safe Border. Safe Border has package delivery.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is a whole layer in itself. So when an order comes in, you're able to dispatch it through the Safe Border package delivery system, and it works really well. Yeah, so you need to look at all these different layers and say, am I going to manage the entire stack by myself? Meaning, am I going to manage the inventory, the warehouse, the delivery system, the payment system, the website, all that stuff? Is it going to be run by me, or am I going to have certain layers managed by me and then other layers are managed by a different third party? You need to figure out which one to outsource and which one to manage by yourself.
So I have a question here, David. It says, somebody saying, Eddie Okila, thank you very much for bringing David Okui on the show. I'm learning a thing or two from here. I have a shop in Tinder, and I sell second-hand clothes. I've been struggling getting clothes to my customers. But could you please ask David Okui to shed more lights on how do I have a system. A friend of mine developed an app for me to sell clothes, and is working for me. So I can put Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter onto my app, and it gives me information in real time. However, I have a problem alerting a border guy. Every time I call, he either has no network, or in the place where I can't get him, or he's riding. Is there a system, or how can we integrate the system I have so that when a customer places an order like this to buy a shirt or something, for example, I sell a lot of workout clothes, and during the lockdown, people were looking for them. It was difficult for me to deliver on time because my border guy is always late, so I had to switch between many borders to try and get deliveries.
Yeah.
There's a system that I can just do. If a customer ordered, I can integrate into my system, and then the border guy gets a notification immediately, or I can have 5 borders get notification, 5 different locations, and each of them can pick depending on where the customer is. I would like to try something like that, like have a border in Muyenga, have a border in whatever, so that they know the location. Is there a system like that? How can I integrate this system?
Okay.
I think this is a very good question.
Yeah, so which I responded earlier. So he can use a third-party delivery network. SafeBorder has a very good one. I don't know if
does he have to sign with them?
No, he just has to have a SafeBorder account, that's all. And then anyone, literally, as long as you're a SafeBorder customer, you're able to dispatch a package anywhere around Kampala, and it's absolutely cheap, as long as you're within the radius of the
How do I start, David? I think the problem is that the information perhaps is not known to so many people on how to start.
Yeah.
Yes. If you can throw more light, yes.
Yeah, so...
borrowing from Oduka, of course.
Yeah. So if you can just sign up to SafeBorder, the same way that you can order for a ride on SafeBorder, there's a feature there for delivering a package. Yes, SafeBorder is it's just one of the very many other delivery platforms now available. But alternatively, he can also have his own network of border guys. Yes.
Which is what he's saying, how does he integrate? It's
going to be manual, but it's going to work. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to work really, really well. Yeah. And border guys, if you have a border guy or border guys, they are trusted. You know them, right? They are probably close to your area. They are around the neighborhood. Like, hey, Abdu Oliwa, you know, Ndiwano, Jangu. And then he comes, and Jagalon can order customer B, and then he comes and then he delivers to the customer. As long as you have an agreement with these guys, for my guys, I put them on retainers. That means that booked their time
every week. Yes.
Yes,
so you pay them every week
and maybe monthly, and they prioritize my calls. Yes. So when I call the guy, he's available. He's not going to give me stories.
So you've integrated them into your system.
Yes.
That's a system integration.
Yes. So I hook them up with a retainer, a small fee, and then I pay them per delivery. And they're absolutely happy.
So what happened, David, if, for example, this border guy you've integrated into your system, let's say he gets an accident and the package disappears, or is bitten, or something happens, the package disappears. Who pays for it?
So those are some of the risks of the business that you need to factor into the system. Yes, and probably this is where micro insurance should be able to come in. Insurance companies need to think about a product or service in that area. Say, we can insure your small packages for a fixed amount, for a fixed premium, so that if there is an issue during the delivery of this product, then we can offset that loss on your behalf.
Yeah, because when I order something from online, normally there's an insurance to until that thing gets to Entebbe or gets to DHL until it gets to me. If it gets lost on Amazon, I just click and say I did not receive my package.
Yeah.
And quite often they will just say, okay, fine, and we'll contact the store manager or the retailer, and then we will get back to you. And in no time, they ship another one to me. I don't quite get to understand, but that's the system integrated with insurance.
Yeah.
It's another discussion altogether, because the insurance companies in Uganda don't seem to understand these things, and this is another different ballgame altogether. For example, I'm told that taxis are not insured by any insurance company in Uganda, because the risk of them driving crazy and is apparently too high, and they break. But again, it goes back to you and what you're saying. Lastly, David, as we wind up the show, of course, what is the purpose of creative thinking system integration for local products and brands going forward?
The purpose is increase productivity and stay afloat in business and to grow. That is, the purpose of being creative. You want to stay afloat in business, you want to grow, you want to increase, you want to be relevant in the market. And every business, organization, company, government needs to have this system integration with creative thinking built in, so that they're able to continuously deliver products and services to their customers. Yes, if it is government, if it is, we have a lot of potholes around the city, how can the authority, the city authority, come up with creative ways to solve some of those problems? Because those are, those are problems that plague us every single day, and it takes creativity. Or creative thinking to come up with solutions to solve those problems. Companies need to continuously use creative thinking to respond to threats in the market, to challenges, to respond to competitors. Africell got booted out of the market. Why? Maybe they weren't really that creative enough. But previously, these are the guys who introduced all these social media bundles and cheap internet and all that. You remember back in the day? Very, very creative. What happened along the way? So you need to be continuously creative to respond to competitors, to respond to market threats, to be relevant to your customers, to be relevant to the citizens and to the people that you're there to build. We had a lot of issues during the second wave of the COVID, with hospitals, they were charging ridiculous amounts of money to do COVID care and patient management. Where was the creativity? It wasn't there. So these are some of the things that we need to think about.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, David Ukwi. I think there was a last question which you have not answered here. How much does the app cost? You're an app developer. This is another problem altogether. People are downloading apps. In fact, this person says, Eddie Okila, thank you very much. Just one more question before you go. Can you ask David Ukwi, how much does creating or making an app cost? In Uganda, we have too many technical people like David who are good people. But the problem is, they are very good at talking. When you give them something to deliver, they don't deliver. So there is not typically any app that works in Uganda. Can you ask David, how much does it cost? And does it cost a ham and a leg? Will it cost my entire capital for the business, or I can get it? How can they make it easier for us to, it sounds really nice when David is talking.
Yeah, it really depends. WhatsApp was sold for $19 billion US. So how much did it cost building WhatsApp? How much did they put in? Yeah. So it really depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. The cost is very, very variable. We have apps that are really simple and intuitive to use. They really look very simple, very intuitive to use. Kanoka WhatsApp, how much really? Can it really cost 5M? But it's a huge system behind scenes. Yeah. As you know, Facebook had to pay 19 billion for WhatsApp. As simple as it looks in your hands, but that's $19 billion.
Moreover.
Dollars, US dollars.
No, we're not talking about shillings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it goes back to your requirements, to your requirement as a client. What am I building and what am I trying to achieve? So if it is, you said it was a restaurant owner, the customer, they use the yes. It's an app to help you or to help your customers make orders to your restaurant. Maybe that is very narrow, and you can sit down with a developer and you come up with a fee. It heavily depends on your budget as a customer. I think you've seen these memes of customer expectation versus customer budget. So it heavily depends on your budget, and then the software developer is going to look into that budget and say, this is what we can come up with within your budget.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have a budget of let's say 2M, the software developer or the agency, the web agency or the app agency that does that is going to say, this is what we can do for you within this 2M budget. If it is 5M, this is what it is. And then the other thing that people maybe don't understand is that building software is not it's not like building a house. A house, you come up with a plan and then you build it and forget you're living in it. Maybe do easy maintenance. With software, it is an ever-evolving system. It's like an organism that is continuously changing, because systems change. You have Android, Google developing Android version this year, 10, then you have I don't know what. So it keeps on changing, and as a software developer, you have to keep on updating the system to adapt to those changes there. Yeah, so it is not build and forget. No, that app has to continuously receive updates in response to the software changes that have been made in the market. So you have to commit yourself, in other words,
to the process, continuous process.
Yes, the continuous process of that development. If you have the budget, then well and good. My best advice will be, first look out for the options that are available on the market. You realize, like Facebook, for example, you can create a Facebook page for and then put your products there. WhatsApp has a WhatsApp shop. You can put you can create a catalog with your products, and you're good to go. You have a shop, but the platform is literally developed by the existing big. So that is zero cost on you. So decide, do you want to go with existing platforms, or do you want to develop something native from the ground up?
Wow. Thank you very much, David, for coming. If you look into this camera, we just want you to give our viewers that one thing, takeaway you want to give them. What's the best advice you can give us as a takeaway from this interview today? Building local content development by Uganda, build Uganda, and how do we integrate our traditional system or rudimentary system into a more sophisticated system that is, globally recognizable or can use the global platform to going forward. If you would just, shed light on it.
Thank you very much. So this has been a very great talk show with Eddie Okila here. I would say that first, when you think about build Uganda, buy Uganda, build Uganda. We live in a free market economy, so people are going to buy your products not because it is Ugandan. No, they're going to buy your product because they love the product, because there is value that they want to get out of that product. So make sure that you're building for the customer and that it meets the standard that the customer expects. Then the customer falls in love with the product and they're hooked. They are your customer forever. Now they happen to be Ugandan, you happen to be Ugandan. Eventually we are building Uganda. Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is be creative in your business. Adapt to change. Look at all the changes. Ask yourself, what has changed in the past 5 years, or what has not changed in the past 5 years? That's also a very good question to ask, and then respond to that change or that thing that hasn't changed. COVID has happened. There are a lot of things that have changed currently. People are now adapting to working remotely. If you're a company, you're still asking people to come to the physical office 9 to 5. Maybe that needs to change. Maybe they need to come in a few days in a week, you know. Now you need to change your processes to allow for people to work from home even past COVID. So these are the changes. Your customers, you still want them to come to the banking hall? Maybe not, you know. Probably they can do some of these things that you require them to come to the banking hall remotely through digital channels that are existent, like WhatsApp, like Facebook, or even your website, you know. We have House of Talent here, it's broadcasting, and it doesn't have all the traditional broadcasting infrastructure that a TV station traditionally has. But here you are, you know, watching us, and you're watching us through all these channels that we have thought about and we are using. Yes, so adapt to the change, look at the things that haven't changed. If they haven't changed, then you know, build your business accordingly. Yeah, so that is my little piece of advice, and I'm also happy to receive some of the advice that you already have.
Thank you very much, David, and for that, and thank you very much everybody for being part of the Creative Industry Talk Growing Bigger and Better today. We've been discussing, you know, local content development, focusing our discussion on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda as you know, a topic of discussion. And of course, David Okwi is the founder and the shop manager of Oduka Stores. Is an online, you know, business built by Uganda, Build Uganda. All right. David, thank you very much for coming. We're gonna have to let this go and spread the love. And please, there's this thing you guys always do when I order for products online, and then you say it is this much. I see it very nice. Then I say how much? I said inbox me.
Inbox for price.
Yes, for price. That needs to stop because
no,
we are moving forward.
It's not
so if I talk about system integration,
yeah,
inbox me needs to stop because it's we are out. Thank you very much, and until next time, Creative Industry, Eddie Okila, David Okwi signing out.
I have the pleasure to present to you
KCCA has taken a number of steps to address this sanitation challenge, which include, but not limited to the following: the setup,
Welcome to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk.
A wise man once said, "The future has a name and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness." At Mandulus, we really believe.
Welcome to this edition of the Coffee Break. This is House of Talent and my name is Ateng Emmanuel. Remember, this is the show that we get to talk all about coffee, what's happening in the coffee business, different elements about coffee. And back in the studio today is someone we all love, someone we've taken a long time without seeing. I love saying it, the coffee messiah is back. It's like the second coming of Jesus. So the coffee messiah has come back. Amon, welcome back to the show.
Well, it's nice to be here again.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You've actually been gone for a while. I don't know, were you like out converting people, bringing people more into the coffee side?
Well, I've been trying to make ends meet and yeah, happy, healthy, so it's good to be here. Yeah.
It's good to have you. I hope your ends have met.
Yeah, they have. They have met.
Well, to complement the Coffee Messiah, we have someone else in the studio, the first female guest we ever had on this show. And at the beginning of the show, she told me that since we have a Coffee Messiah, we should have a coffee goddess. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Swabra Banks, to the show. Swabra, you're very welcome to the Coffee Break show. I know like a lot of people out there, whenever you tell them your name is Swabra Banks, okay? The Banks part is not a Ugandan name, totally not, okay? So how did you end up with that name?
That's a name that was given to me by a sister of mine, actually, because she used to believe in me and she was like, you're going to get a lot of money. Yeah, so she gave me the name Banks. Yeah.
So have you reached that point where you have that a lot of money?
Yes, I thank God, yes.
All right, so probably after this we're going to the bank with Swabra Banks. Yeah, but that's interesting. Welcome to the show. We just want to start off with basically your profile. Who is Swabra Banks? Who is I'm a barista? Where did you grow up, and how did you end up into the coffee business?
Okay, so Swabra Banks is a barista. I grew up in Entebbe Road, Ndeje, and I went to Mutesa, One-Way University. I was doing mass comm. And then how I ended up into coffee, it was through a friend of mine who is now like a brother to me. He pitched this coffee thing to me. Of course, I didn't have interest in coffee, and I had to go and enroll in the academy. And then as I was doing the coffee course, I fell in love with the coffee.
Oh, that's very interesting. So you talked about, in Mutesa One, you actually did a course in mass communication. So growing up as a child, what did you want to be? People always want to be a lawyer, some want to be a pilot. I had some kids say they wanted to be a taxi conductor because they hold a lot of money. So growing up, what did you think you would be in the future?
I wanted to be an actress, actually, because I loved movies ever since I was a young girl. And I think I love the camera from day one. That's why I yeah.
So are there any hopes of you getting into the movie industry in Uganda?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I'm now taken by the coffee industry.
Well, that's very interesting. Amon, to hear from you. I also know that, growing up you wanted to be something. What did you want to be when you were a kid growing up? I know there was nothing like a barista in your mind. I don't even think you knew about coffee at that time. So, from my perspective, I think you wanted to grow up and be a model, but you can correct me on that.
Why would you choose a model? Well, me from, I want to be a journalist.
Okay.
I think I realized that in my basics. We had a teacher who was doing journalism at the same time teaching us SST. So this guy was like a lifestyle guy. He used to be a very, very, very inspiring guy. So I liked him from the start. So I'm like, okay, I want to be a journalist. So that's how I picked a dream of becoming. Unless I'm trying to achieve that, you know, because right now, if I'm doing mass comm, at the same time, this we're doing coffee, so I'm still on the track. I'm not like Swabra who's already taken by coffee.
The most amazing thing is that actually all the three of us here have done mass comm at a certain level.
Wow.
Okay, and
so we have one thing in common.
Yes, we have something in common at least. The other thing we have in common is that we all passionate about coffee, which is a very good thing. So, Swabra, you told us that a friend of yours, who's now like your brother, introduced you to the coffee industry.
Yes.
So, I know that when someone introduces you, there is always a pitch they give you.
Yeah.
It's like if I want someone, let's say the Coffee Messiah always goes out to convert people, and he has to give a pitch of why should I join the coffee business instead of actually starting a boutique, okay? Which one will make more sense? So what were some of those things that he told you about the coffee business that actually pulled you into it?
Actually, the most interesting part about it was he also didn't know anything about coffee. he wasn't a barista by then. He just told me, you have to do this course and then come to Dubai and make a lot of money, because you know, the coffee business, there is money. So I also went into it to study to go and get money. But along the way, of course, I fell in love and I decided to stay in Uganda.
All right, so you talked about Dubai. Most of the people we've had on the show have had some experience with the Middle East. We had a guy who worked in Kuwait as a barista. So moving from Uganda to Dubai, did you go and work as a barista, or you went and got involved, you know, into other businesses?
I went to Dubai way back. I think that was around it was around 2014, but it wasn't coffee. Yeah, I knew coffee after I came back to Uganda. Yeah, because he was like, now that you're back for your vacation, you should do something different and then come back as someone new. Yes, that's when I went into the coffee industry.
Amon, I remember last time we were talking about you not wanting to go out of the country, you know, to become a barista. And I don't know if your mind has changed since then, yeah. But like most of our baristas go to Dubai, they go to UAE, yeah. I really haven't heard of any barista who has gone maybe to America, maybe to Europe. Is it easier as a barista to go from Uganda to the UAE than it is to go maybe to Europe or to America?
Well, guys do go in the UK, in the US. Guys do go, but only that these people go in the line of maybe doing hotels, not coffee shops. Because it's because someone is easy to access that side, and whoever goes that side, now there's a lot of connection that side, so people get to know that, okay, Emma went to UAE. But when someone goes maybe to UK, it will be hard for someone to know, because maybe like it's a family or a family friend who gets to know that, you know what, Emma went to UK. But people do go that side, and they make a lot of money.
That's very interesting. Still talk about Dubai. I know there are very many differences basically between Dubai and Uganda, okay? And going there, I believe there was that cultural change. So how were you able to deal with the culture change? Because I know that Uganda is more of a freestyle kind of place, and Dubai is really a strict place, especially when it comes to ladies. So how were you able to manage the culture change from Uganda then to Dubai?
It was really tough. It was tough for the first months. I think the first 2 months, and then of course the fact that I went to Dubai as you know, like looking for a job and all that. There are also other people who come to Dubai that are not from that country. So that kind of gave me a sense that I'm not alone in this. So of course you have to make friends. You have to learn the language, because learning the language is the most important thing to do. So I caught up with the situation.
Okay, so did you learn the language?
Yes, of course.
Okay, that's very interesting. So
I like the language.
If I went to Dubai and wanted to order a cup of coffee, okay, how would I say that in Arabic?
I don't remember.
So basically you learned a few things, like maybe greeting,
yes.
You know?
I used to know all of it actually, but it's been a while. I don't remember all of it.
Because in most cases, when you learn a language, what you get to know is how you greet and everything's like to keep you running in case you get lost. It's like those guys who come to Uganda. What they need to know is Mwasuze Mutia, Olibulunji, something like that. But they can't go beyond that.
I like how you say that, Olibulunji.
Because that's how they say it. That's how they say it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I also believe that dealing with people, basically when you're a barista, or at that time you're a waitress, okay? You have to deal with people, okay? And customers are really different. You'll find a customer who's really nice and sweet. Then there are those who are backing orders at you. You know, there are those that you can't deal with. So did you ever find yourself in a situation whereby you were presented with a customer who was really harsh Okay, and how did you deal with that situation?
The first thing these people do is to train you, customer care, how to handle clients, because of course they also know how clients behave. So you start up with everything like the day when you know what's coming. Yes, because you're in a country that is not yours. So every time you could get maybe a harsh client, you could know how to handle. You just be polite and apologize, and then you get the order and then you move on.
Okay, interesting. To Amon, I know that in Uganda there are certain places that I've gone to and there's totally no customer care. You enter a restaurant, you order for something. First of all, I believe that when you go to a restaurant or to a coffee shop, okay, someone is supposed to come and attend to you, all right? But there are some places that in Uganda you go to a hotel, you go to a coffee shop, and you really have to call the waiter or call the waitress to get served, okay? Amon, how has been your experience in Uganda in relation to customer care, especially where you work? Are we up to the mark of good customer care, or we still need a lot of help in that part?
Well, to be honest, in Uganda we still have the poorest customer care. Because in most cases, these guys who are in customer care or customer service, most of them are either in school and they're just doing the job for the sake of doing the job, but they are professional customer care attendants. These guys have studied this. They have gone to like a room and studied this. They have gotten training, so they know how to handle a person. But in Uganda, it's really, really hard to find a very, very good customer care. For a case of where I have been in a few places, I haven't had that bad experience with customer care because I've went to a coffee shop and I've received instant care, instant customer service, and it's been a nice experience. So I haven't received that bad service.
All right. According to me, I think that just like you said, we really haven't reached the mark. We still need a lot of help when it comes to the customer care industry. And I believe that most of the time, you know, you just get a job and there's really not much training put into it. You just start working and you don't know how to deal with people. I believe that the most important part when it comes to such a service industry is not even the coffee you're brewing or it's not the food that you're giving. It's basically how you treat customers. Okay, that's what keeps them coming back. Okay. So Abra, before we go for a break, basically how we got to you was that you were blowing up on social media. Okay. A little bird told us that there's a certain barista that is now blowing up on social media. Okay, and it really caught our attention. We're like, oh, okay, you know, baristas are actually getting out there. You know, the coffee business is starting to grow. So before we go for break, I just want you to tell the viewers out there, okay, who are you on social media? What is your name on social media? Are you Swabra Banks? Are you someone else on social media? Because sometimes people have aliases, you know. I'm one on Facebook, I'm one person, then on Instagram, I'm another person. So before I go into a break, just tell the people who you are on social media.
On social media, I am a barista.
Okay.
Yes.
That's both on all your social media platforms?
All my social media platforms, yes.
Okay. Yeah, please.
That is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay. We're going to get into a break right now. In the studio, we have Amon Mukisa, the Coffee Messiah, and we also have Swabra Banks, the Coffee Goddess, and me, the Coffee Human, Ateng Emmanuel. We'll take a break right now, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about how you can brand yourself in the coffee business. Stay right there. This is House of Talent Television. Welcome back to House of Talent. This is the Coffee Break Show where we get to talk everything about coffee. And in the studio with me, I have Amon, the Coffee Messiah, and Swabra Banks, the Coffee Goddess. And basically, we've been talking about her life. Where did she start from, and how did she end up in the coffee business? We also had Amon telling us about his experience and what he wanted to be, when he grew up. He said he wanted to be, a journalist, okay, which I believe that you're studying, okay. You got me wrong. I thought you wanted to be a model, but here we are.
Why did you think I wanted to be a model?
Maybe you look like one.
Yes. I mean, when someone looks at him, you can see the well-kept beard, the well-kept hair, the nice shirt. I think it's something that you really need to look into.
Maybe I should.
Yes, you should. Okay. At least we'll say we know someone famous. Yeah, but like I said before, we went into a break. We're just getting into basically branding in the coffee business. Okay. Before I saw your profile on Instagram, I really hadn't seen any other barista who would put themselves out there. It's like being a barista is only what you do when you're at your coffee shop or when you're at your place of employment. Okay, it's not like how you have all these social media influencers, always putting out their videos, tweeting on Instagram. I really haven't had anything from a barista. Okay, and it's good to have someone with experience. Okay, we just want to know, how do I start? If I was a layman, I've gone to barista school, I'm a barista. Where would I start when it comes to branding myself as a barista?
I think the first thing you have to do is get the passion.
Okay.
Yes, because you can do everything, but as long as you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to make people love it.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, you have to fall in love with it first, and then do some research. Don't be in the comfort zone. You have to do some research, know more about the industry, be down to earth. You don't have to show off and all that. And have content. You should have content. Always have content. People love to see what is unique about the industry. What is she doing other people are not doing? How come she's doing this and other people are not doing it? Let me follow her. Let me try to do as she's also doing. So at the end of the day, you make people love what you're doing. If you also love what you're doing.
Yeah, so basically the first thing you're saying is have a plan.
Yes.
Okay? Sit down with yourself and say, what, this is what I want to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, these are the steps to it. All right, so I have a plan. This is what I want to do. Okay, but I'm not yet out there on social media.
Yeah.
One of the first things when you're basically picking a name, when you're picking social media platforms or what you're going to be on social media, is picking a name.
Yes.
Okay? The name, I believe, has to stand out.
Yes.
And the name has to be catchable, something that will stay.
Yes.
All right, so you use I am a barista. Okay. How did you come up with this name? I believe that there were countless other names you'd have just used for Swabra Banks.
Yeah.
I believe that in itself is a very good name.
Yes.
So how did you end up with I am a barista?
I'm one person who is very proud about being a barista.
Okay.
So the name just came up because I'm proud of being a barista. And people used to call me Banks, and I wanted to stop that, to stop people to call me Banks, and maybe start calling me barista.
Okay.
So I wanted to send a message out there that I am a barista.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not a barista.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Amon, when it comes to branding, okay, what would be the first step in your regard, in your perspective?
Well, when it comes to branding, I think it's the cause and the value you stand for, because branding involves personalization or a personality. Then it involves this other side we're putting out. Okay. Because I try to ask myself, why are we not having baristas taken as ambassadors of certain things? For example, we're having different artists come out and the ambassadors of tourism, and yet coffee is a very, very key major factor in maybe tourism.
Yeah.
Why don't we have these baristas come out and they're like, you know what, Swabra Banks is the ambassador of tourism in terms of coffee, she's going to influence coffee growing in a park or in Gulu. So why don't we have that? I think, like as Swabra is saying, you need to know why you're doing something, and you need to come out of the cage and start doing that. Because if we have various baristas have traits of branding themselves, for example, if I am a barista and I know, okay, I want to go beyond being the station, I want to be out there. I want to show that I'm a proud barista and I can do whatever it takes to be that good person who can be approached and they give me business and I want to influence for a certain cause, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be a good thing. So like Sobra is saying, I just want to know how she came out with the name I am a barista, because it's really working. Because yes,
thank you.
Someone asks you, who are you? I am a barista. So how did you come out with that?
As I've said before, I'm proud to be a barista, and I am a barista. It's not special. It's just that I wanted to send a message to people that I'm a barista now, and I'm proud to be one. That's how I came up with the name, just like that. I am a barista.
Have you been approached by different companies to like do business with you because of I am a barista?
Yes, because everyone is like, what does barista mean? And then they have to look it up, and then they're like, oh, it means someone who does this and this and this. Because a barista is something huge. A barista doesn't just make coffee. No, we make a lot of things. You know that we make juice, we make ice things, and all that. Yeah, so being a barista is something that really makes people want to know who a barista is, not just Swabra Banks, because someone will be like, oh, Swabra Banks and I see coffee, oh, maybe she's in the coffee business.
Now, Emma, you see, like, she's speaking about being a barista. Most of us didn't know that a barista does coffee, does juices, does cocktails, various beverages. Yeah. So at least if we brand ourselves as baristas, we get to put our image out there, and we'll get some business coming through.
I remember someone telling me that the first time he heard the word barista, he thought it was
a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Because you know, let me tell you something. I was having a conversation with now his spokesperson of NUP, Joe Senyon. So the first time I met him, he asked me, "What do you do?" Because it was after my senior six. I'm like, I'm a barista. Wait, I'm studying to be a barista. For you already a barista.
Most times people actually get it confused. We still haven't reached that place in Uganda where we know what a barista is. We can't really put the line between a barista of law and a barista as someone who does coffee. So I have my plan, picked out my super cool name. All right, I'm ready to go on social media. Okay. What is that brand identity? Every time I look at Swabra Banks' account, every time I look at Amon's account, what are some of those messages that you want me to get without you ever talking to me? There are some social media handles of different people that you see, okay, and you just get certain keywords immediately, like this one is friendly, this one is really nice. What are some of those words that come to someone when they log onto your Instagram page?
In most cases, when I'm posting something on my Instagram, I make sure I'm sending out a message. It doesn't have to be coffee specifically. It can be something else. So I always want to show people that a barista is not just making the latte art and all that. It comes right from the garden to the cup. So in most cases, when I'm posting something on social media, I make sure I communicate through my posts or my pictures or my anything that a barista does this and this and this. It's not just coffee. It's a lot of things. So when someone looks onto my page, it's like, oh, even a barista does this. Oh, even a barista does this. Yes, that's what I look at when I'm posting anything.
So I actually love that perspective, showing people that you don't have to be boxed up in only one thing. I'm a barista, but I can actually do other cool things. So Amon, I remember I think it was last week when I met you at Enduro. I saw you basically interacting with one of your customers, okay, and it was a good thing to see, because that interpersonal relationship you have between a barista and a customer is a very important thing, okay? So what are some of those qualities that your customers have told you that you have, some of the things that they have complimented you about that actually identify you as Amon Bukisa, the barista?
Me as a person?
Yes.
Oh, well. Well, I think most of them have complimented about the communication skills, because it all goes down to the communication skills. Those simple communication skills. Most people tend to think it's just a thing, but it's a very, very, very crucial thing. Because just imagine someone is talking to you, but you're not paying attention to them. For example, I'm speaking to Swabra, but I'm looking at you. that's already a turn off.
Yeah.
Someone needs attention, needs to be shown that, okay, I'm talking to you, you know, I'm attending to you. So if you're attending to a client or having a conversation, because sometimes you can't be busy on a station. She's a trainer right here.
Yeah.
I don't know why she trains her students, for example, to handle a busy station. But just imagine now I have a busy station and a certain Edwin comes on station and is like, okay, he wants to have that conversation.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that, Edwin? To show him that, you know what, Edwin, I'm busy, you know, but let's talk after having this whole mess worked out, you know. So that's what keeps you going, or keeps a brand of a barista compared to someone who's going to just come, okay, I'm busy, and just comes out and say, oh, why Edwin? Don't want to be busy in Vaco, you know, something like that. So it's a way how you interact or how you communicate with this person that keeps you in that same state they see. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's not just about, you know, like I used to think before, you know, I knew about the whole barista thing. I used to think being a barista is basically just pouring coffees for something.
It's called, you know, the word is a barista, which means it comes from the bar, then barista, you know. So it means it's a bar. Someone can access that bar, you know. So if someone accesses that bar, you don't have a right to chase them away. That's because it's a bar.
So you have to go basically above and beyond what you do. It's not just about giving them the coffee. You have to create some sort of relationship.
It actually means a bartender who is a star. That's what it means.
Maybe Emma, I just want to know from Swabra, what are you using as your brand to add value on the coffee industry? Is it just Swabra, oh, I am a barista, just for the sake of social media? But how are you using I am Swabra as a brand to add value on the coffee industry, and how are you doing that?
First of all, I'm doing that through my trainings. I make sure I give the real content, the genuine content, and then quality. A lot of people are in the business, but they don't, you know, give quality out there. They prefer getting a lot of money without even putting in. So to me, it goes back to quality. You have to make sure you give people quality, both the knowledge part of it and the, you know, the coffee part of it. Yeah, quality.
Okay. Before we get into another break, okay, I know that, okay, now we have the plan, we have the name. Basically now I want people to know that, you know what, let's say I'm Emmanuel, I'm a coffee human, because I have a goddess and a messiah here.
No, now you're a coffee genius.
You know, so these are the different words. I want people to know I'm friendly. I want people to know that I'm not only a barista, there's basically other things that I do, okay? How do you go about creating your content? Because I believe that is the most important thing when it comes down to social media. You have to create content that is basically engaging and content that will keep people coming back. You know, so before we go for a break, how do you as Swabra Banks, you know, sit down and create your content that will capture the attention of other people?
Research. Through research. I do a lot of research actually. All the time I'm on my phone doing research. Research comes through in a lot of ways. First of all, you have to show people that we have competitions. You know, baristas have competitions. It's not just about other people. So there are a lot of interesting parts in our coffee industry that people don't know yet. People don't even know you have competitions here in Uganda.
I was actually about to say we should start one, but
we do. Yes, we do. I actually tried to compete. I think that was 2020, but the COVID thing came up and everything was stopped. So you have to do a lot of research and make people, first of all, love the industry. You have to know what people like. Not just putting things on social media and all that. No, you have to know what's trending, what should I post, how should I put it out there, and you have to follow a lot of baristas to know what's going on.
So you just don't come out there and, you know, throw something on social media without a plan. Okay, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll still be talking to Swabra. We also want to know how Amon comes up with his content, because I know he's not only a barista, there's a lot of other things you actually do. So I want to know how he comes up with his content, and we'll also be brewing coffee. Everyone who comes on the show has to brew for us a good cup of coffee. So we're basically rating up to now who has given us the best cup of coffee. We'll be doing that after the break. This is the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television.
There's a particular segment of fans and basketball enthusiasts who have actually put the entire blame onto the federation.
So for me, it was actually a setup for the girls. Fuba set them up and just throwing in the shark in the deep end with the sharks. That was the
not just throwing you in the deep end, but throwing you in the deep end with sharks.
And you can't swim.
But they expect you to get to the other end of the pool. That is a discussion that actually very many fans of Slam Dunk Basketball Talk are willing to listen to and want to know.
So we'll
if the senior gazelles were not able to get a sponsor, then the junior teams were able to get 3 sponsors. KCCA, Stanbic Bank, the Parliament of Uganda, they were on board.
So going back to that, why I would bash the federation, okay, not bashing the federation as such, that is a very, that's a heavy word.
Enormous.
You can't cancel something, then you tell people 4 days to the tournament that you need to start practicing, which is a thing that Uganda always does when it comes to the federation. I mean, I think later on we'll be discussing why the national team itself that is going for AfroBasket hasn't really prepared for AfroBasket.
That will be a discussion later in the show.
Yes, later in the show.
Young people at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials. I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Welcome back to the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television. My name is Ateng Emmanuel, and remember, you can catch us on our social media handles at House of Talent Television. That's on our Twitter and on our Facebook. The show will be airing there. You can also catch us on our website, which is houseoftalentug.com. Don't miss the show. If there's someone out there, if you know a barista, someone who's involved in the coffee business and they're not watching the show right now, give them a call and let them know we are on. Before we went into the break, we're basically talking to the Coffee Goddess and the Coffee Messiah about how they come up with content. And Swabra told us, she sits down and she has to do research on how to, get very good content and put it out there. Content that is basically engaging and content that will keep people glued to, your social media. Amon, I know that you're not only a barista, you're also a YouTuber. Okay, so how do you go about getting content for your YouTube channel?
Well, one thing I have to say is, first, you just have to know what you want to put out there. Right. And you as a person, what are your values? Because you won't do something that doesn't follow under your values. Yeah. And what's the cause? I just doing content just for the case of doing content. That's why when you start like doing such type of content, you end up losing it. But when you have the cause, you're like, okay, my cause is vegetation or growing trees. What am I going to do to make sure that we have a larger number of villagers? Okay, that might sound rude. A larger number of people in villages, grow more trees, you know? So you start like planning that. So that's how you come up with your content.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I've come up with content, I'm out there now, and I know that there are certain people, influencers, musicians, different people on social media who are not easily accessible. Okay, I believe that one of the things you have to be as an influencer is be accessible to people, because people want to interact with you, they want to ask you different types of questions, and there's this whole thing of these days that, sliding into someone's DM, which has become, when you say, I sent a DM to someone, they demonize you, they look at you like, So I just wanted to ask Swabra, how approachable are you on social media? Are you that kind of person? Let's say if I ask a question, I send you a message, do you get back in time, or do you even get back at all? Or it's just, social media, what you see is what you get, and that's the end of it. So how do you go about, talking to people on social media?
I do get back, though not that quickly. I do get back to people and of course interact with them. Some come with questions and you have to answer them, like make them fall in love with the industry, and they end up saying, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know actually you people are, of recent, a friend of mine even told me, I didn't know baristas get certified. After I told him that, we go to the academies and all that and we get certified. So the whole thing is, I get back to them, and in the process of getting back to them, I make sure at least I educate them in one way or another how beautiful the industry is, and at least they don't end up going back as they came to my inbox.
Interesting. Amon, how do you take advantage of that kind of scenario whereby someone sends you a message and they want to get to know more about you and also about the coffee business? So how do you take advantage of that? Do you give them all the information, or do you tell them, you can find me at such and such a place and we can talk? Or you actually take your time and say, you know what, let's talk through this, let's get on a video call or something like that, and let me walk you through it. So how do you take advantage of that kind of interaction?
Well, it depends on how that someone has slided into my DMs.
Exactly.
if this person has come with an agenda of, no, just brief information, and I'm at liberty to give all that information, because there might be someone coming in your DM and they want that secret information.
The whole course.
Yeah, the whole course. Definitely you won't do that. But if it's just giveable information and it's brief, you can give it to them. But also when it needs like sitting down, talk about it like in nits and gritties, then you have to set up an appointment and then do that. And by the way, that's how you get your brand out there. Because just imagine Emma came into my DM and you asking me something, but the way I respond to you, I show you that, okay, I'm available, but not so much available. Exactly. So if you want me, please make an appointment with me and we shall meet. Then this person will get to know that, okay, this is a high brand that I'm dealing with. I have to pay respect to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you just advertise yourself there. You bait them into
yes.
You bait them into coming. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So the final question I want to ask on branding is this. Okay, I've become a big brand. I'm out there. People know about me. Okay, how do you keep up there? Because I believe it's easier to rise to the top, but keeping in that spot is a really hard thing to do. So to the both of you, how do I keep up there once I've gotten my brand to that level?
First of all, you have to be friendly, because people like friendly people. You have to be friendly and you have to be consistent. You don't have to give the same content all the time. You have to keep changing, beautifying, you know, the industry, you know, and all that. So you have to actually make people love coffee. That's what I actually do on my social media handles, and I end up getting students, you know, I want to be like you, you've inspired me. Actually people come to me and they're like, you know what inspired me into coffee is your love for coffee. I've got a lot of them. So you have to give really good content and to be consistent, and friendly actually. Yes.
To Amon, the same thing. How do you keep up there?
Well, I think it's just staying on course, because what you used to take you to that top level, it's what you will use to stay on that top level. Because when you lose what you intended to do, then it means this audience will go away from you. They'll be like, okay, Emma no longer does what we subscribed him to do for us. Then why don't we go to someone who needs to do something we subscribe to? So you lose that content, hence you're falling.
Okay, interesting. So basically, for those who are watching, if you're a barista, you're involved in the coffee business, even if you're a farmer, I believe that there's a way you can actually brand yourself as a coffee farmer and be I don't think I've heard of anyone. So for a coffee farmer out there, this is a secret tip. This is the right time to brand yourself on social media as a coffee farmer. You don't know how many deals you can actually come up with. Well, we've reached to that point of the show where we get to brew a cup of coffee. You know, we have had very many people here, and we're talking with Amon and saying we need to do a show where we just rate the cups of coffee that we have taken here, and that put a lot of pressure on Swabra, basically, because now she has to make a really good cup of coffee. All right, so Swabra, I know that people watching from home are seeing us with all these, you know, things, and they're wondering, okay, what do they have on the show today? Okay, so we just want to start from the basics. What do we have on our set here, and what kind of coffee are we going to make? So basically, you're just going to run us through it, and I'm going to try and do this with you.
Okay, that's
hopefully I won't make any mistakes.
That's a good thing, because in most cases we teach our people outside there who are viewing to brew this, but today it's hands-on with you also. As they're learning, you're also learning.
It's good that I'm the coffee human here, so I can make a mistake. You guys can't make a mistake. So Swabra, over to you. Just take us through, you know, what we have on set and how we're going to do this.
This is an AeroPress. It's a manual or craft brewing equipment. It is portable. You can carry it anywhere you go. So it is categorized in, or it is under black coffee or brewed coffee. So you're going to brew coffee.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our coffee here. We also have a cup with, you know, different white things inside. You know, they kind of look like, you know, the small pieces of bread we use in the cafe. So just tell us, what do we have here? Why is it white? Can't we get another color like pink or something like that?
These are filter papers, actually. We use them to filter our coffee. Reason being, everything is manual, so we need a filter inside there. So this is our filter paper. This is our coffee. This is the AeroPress. This is where the filter paper actually goes. And then our weighing scale right there.
It's amazing that every barista who comes has to weigh their coffee.
Yeah, you need these things. You don't just have to.
There's always that average of water to coffee.
Yes.
You have to. Really
exactly.
Okay, so we have our AeroPress here.
Yeah.
You know, we have our filters. And we're just waiting for our water to get ready so we can go with this. We also have this. You know, this looks like a small ping pong.
This is a spoon.
Instrument, yeah.
This is a spoon. This one we use it to stir our coffee.
Yeah.
It's the barista word is actually bloom. Bloom, not stir, because
so
everyone knows what stir means.
So you bloom, you don't stir.
we bloom our coffee.
So we stir tea.
Yes, but we bloom coffee. Yeah.
All right. So as we go on, for those who are at home, it's actually easy to make a cup of coffee. Most people think that you have to have some serious kind of equipment to brew a very good cup of coffee. And I know, Amon, there are people who have asked you, you know, how can I buy this instrument? How can I get this? And I guess you always tell them, you know what, it's easy to make a cup of coffee. You know, you can get a French press or you can get an AeroPress and actually, you know, make this cup of coffee, right? So where do we go next? We have everything set up. I have mine here. I still have no idea where I'm going with this, but let's see how that goes. So what is the capacity of this? Is there a specific capacity, and are there different spoons with different capacities?
Not really, actually, because that's why we need the weighing scale.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the main purpose is making you smart and you work smart to scoop, not just pouring the whole thing.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are.
So you can use any spoon, actually. It's not specific. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, but this one looks cool. I mean,
it
looks more professional.
Yeah, it's professional. It's the barista spoon, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wait for our water to boil so we can brew this coffee, there are very few ladies that are basically involved in the coffee business. Okay. It's not something that you hear ladies saying, I'm a barista. Okay. It's more of a male-dominated kind of industry.
Yeah.
So coming from your perspective, okay, how can we get more ladies into the coffee business? They don't have to only be a barista, they don't have to be a kappa. We can even go down into growing coffee, you know. How do we make it nice? How do we make it cool? How do we make it interesting for ladies to, you know, get into the coffee business?
I think that takes us back to, you know, the schools where we go for this, you know, where we go for the whole courses and all that. We have a challenge that we have very few schools here in Uganda. So a lot of people are not really that informed. And of course, ladies, I don't know why they are not confident about this industry. Everyone says coffee is for men, but no, it's not. So I think they are not informed. I think it all goes back to being informed about the industry, which actually we are trying to do. Me personally, I'm trying to do that, yes. So we have to also show them that there are very good things in the industry. You can achieve a lot in the industry. Like I talked about the competitions earlier. We go for competitions, for these competitions and all that. People think we are just in this industry to make money, but we are in it to win, to win. Yes, so they have to be confident and informed, I think.
Okay, so Amon, to you, how do we get more women involved? You know, as we get ready to basically brew a cup of coffee and come to the end of the show, how do we get more women involved in the coffee business?
I think it's just a matter of demystifying the myths that are around coffee with women. You know, there are a lot of myths that come along with that coffee dries up women, coffee makes you lose sleep. You know, I think we just need to demystify that, and we shall have more women come on board.
Interesting. So if you're a lady out there, don't be scared to be involved in the coffee business. It's like being a chef. We have very many men who are chefs. You'd think women would actually be the chefs in these big places, but they're men. Okay, so we want to see a point whereby we actually have more female baristas than the males. Okay, so let's get into brewing our coffee right now. I think our water is ready. As we're coming towards the end of the show, but before we get there, let's show you guys how to brew a good cup of coffee by the coffee goddess.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start by preheating my filter paper. I do this because I don't want my coffee to have that pepper smell in it. So I have to first preheat my filter paper. And then I have my weighing scale here. I need my coffee. So I'm going to be using a ratio of 13 grams of coffee with 200 ml of water.
So do you also like make your own coffee and grind it, or you just depend on getting coffee from different
I really do make my own coffee. I roast my own coffee.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to study how to be a good roaster. I do that at home sometimes. Yeah.
So there are different parts of basically the coffee industry. I know some people only hear that, being a barista, but you can be a kappa, you can be someone who actually does the growing of the coffee. But I believe that there are also other parts of the coffee business that I've not looked into. Okay? For example, like Amadou said, you can be an influencer. Okay? You don't have to be directly involved with the coffee business, but you can actually be an, you can be an influencer. You can be an investor also in the coffee business, because I believe that there are all those other options. Okay, and we shouldn't only look at one side. So it would be a really nice thing to see you guys in future investing in the coffee business. Okay, being big baristas and just going back there and basically giving back. Investing and taking the coffee business to the place where it should be. Okay, so yeah, back to our brewing. We're basically poured, I don't know how many ounces of coffee.
I've used 13 grams of coffee. Yes. Right. And then after you pour your coffee into the AeroPress, you have to tare, because you have to measure the water, which is 200 ml that we are going to use. So as you do this, as you start pouring over, you have to turn on the timer.
Okay.
Yes.
So for how much time do I have to do that?
You have to pour the water for like 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yes. So you pour your water onto the coffee grounds as you look down to your weighing scale, because you don't want to mess up the measurements and all that.
I like the consistency with all the baristas. When they come, you have to pour the water in a swirling motion.
Yes.
You just don't pour it.
So I'm going to bloom
anyhow.
a little bit for like 10 seconds.
All right. So for those who didn't know, this is the blooming part of it. We don't stir like we start tea. We bloom the coffee. So what else does this blooming of the coffee do?
It mixes well the coffee, because it's brewing. We are brewing, so you have to mix it well, and of course to let that carbon dioxide out of your coffee.
So you degas the coffee.
Yes, basically. You degas the coffee.
Okay. All right, as we honestly wait for our good cup of coffee, no pressure.
Yeah.
I know we kind of put some pressure on you, but no pressure really. Yeah.
So I'm done with my 200 ml. So I have to cover my coffee for the aroma not to escape.
Okay.
So I give it like 1 minute. Right. So it's already 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to need my cup.
Okay, this.
Thank you. You swirl it a little bit. You can see the reaction. Yes. And then you get your cup. Put it right onto it.
And then flip.
Yeah. And then you plunge.
Yeah, so I think that part, you have to do a couple of push-ups.
Yeah.
Just to basically get yourself strong enough to do that. So for those of you at home and are wondering, okay, what kind of coffee are we doing? This is basically an AeroPress. I believe that you can get this in any of our supermarkets in Uganda. Okay, you don't have to really go out and try and get a big machine. You can get something simple like this, an AeroPress or a French press, that will basically help you make a good cup of coffee, especially in the morning. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you want to run to work and you want a good cup of coffee, you can always depend on this. Okay, I believe that a good cup of coffee in the morning will start your day right. Okay, so I think we're done with brewing our first cup of coffee. I think the thing about the AeroPress is that you can only make 1 cup of coffee at a time.
Yes, you can only make 1 cup.
Yeah, so this is mainly for single people.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, for strong coffee takers.
Yeah.
Because
this
it
makes
really
a
makes
stronger coffee.
Yes, stronger coffee.
Okay, so we've come towards the end of our show, and thank you very much for basically showing us how we can, make an AeroPress. We have had people doing French presses. We haven't yet had someone doing a cappuccino here or a latte. I believe that somewhere down the road we'll have you come in, or we'll come and actually visit you.
That would
at
be
your
great.
coffee shop, and you can show us how to do these different things. But before we go, Amon, we're talking about how to get women basically and different ladies into the coffee business. Okay, so how, as a barista, would you look into that camera and just encourage someone who's out there, especially yesterday the S6 results came out, and there is that uncertainty of a college is going to open, a university is going to open, so we need options. Okay, and I believe that getting into the coffee business is an option right now. Okay, so Amon, I just want you to look there. I know there is a lady who is a bit confused. Should I get into it? Should I not get into it? Do I have the money for it? Just look to the camera and tell them why they should get involved in the coffee business.
Well, Emma, I think the whole process has to be started by our government.
Yeah.
In most cases, we don't like to bring the government's or the government side into our own decisions, but it's so crucial because we follow their guidelines and policies.
Yeah.
So at this time, we need to realize that there need to be change. You know, for example, can we have a certain way that we can get a break of people come out and go get some skills? You know. Because people are sitting at home, senior 6, senior 4, P7, they're all now at home. At least now they would have used this time to get hands-on skills. By the time they go back to school, at least they have a skill. So that if in case something fails out there, they return back to this skill. So, to a senior 4 vacist, senior 6, please go out there and get a skill. It doesn't necessarily need to be coffee, but any skill that you can do besides class or school. Yes.
Thank you, Ahmad. So, Swabra, thank you very much for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a very good pleasure, and I believe that it's not the last time.
Yes.
We want to host actually one of your students, okay? Because it's always good to get something from the student's perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a hash teacher and we don't know about it.
Speaking about our students, I have Sherry Awori. She's her student, and she was so happy to know that she's going to be hosted on the coffee break.
Interesting. So your students are actually out there. So
yes,
we'll host one of your students, and we just want to know what kind of person you are from their perspective. Yeah. So before we go, I just also want you to look into the camera. Just give us your parting words, to the ladies out there, and also to the baristas, to the coffee community and the industry. What would be your last words for them?
To my fellow baristas, actually, I want to thank them a lot because they are pushing the industry out there. At least now we are recognized as baristas. So I thank them for that. And keep your social media handles active. Keep them active. Keep them active. That's what I can tell you.
Well, we've come towards the end of our show. We just want to thank the coffee goddess, Sobra Banks. That's a new name for her, baby. And also the coffee messiah, Amon Mukisa. And from me, the coffee human, Atengi Manuel, thank you for taking time to be with us here, brewing a good cup of coffee. I know sometimes you guys always wonder, okay, how does their coffee taste? The cups of coffee we brew here, you can always get down to different coffee shops. You can visit Amon, you can visit Swabra Banks at her coffee shop and just get to taste, what kind of coffee they make. But apart from that, do always catch the coffee break, bringing you the best about coffee, teaching you different elements, always on House of Talent Television. This has been the Coffee Break, and my name is Atengi Manuel.
to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772-443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
At the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
This is the CEO Bench. My name is Edio Killer and it's a Friday. Welcome to the CEO Bench. Of course, this week we bring you a very interesting guest, the third female on the show, and we will be talking leadership, change management and transformation. And of course, in today's rapidly changing world, learning to of course lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time that comes with leadership challenges and change management is key in us making proper decisions that will take our organization forward, but also to allow us, manage impact of what we're trying to do. So today on the show, this program brings you Francis Birungi Odong, who is an executive director of Ukobak. I'm yet to understand how to pronounce the entire word from her, but Francis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, I'm very well, thank you.
And welcome to the CEO Bench.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, in a nutshell, who is Francis?
So, who is Francis? So, Francis is Francis Birungi Odong, as you said. I am, what should I say? I work in Ukobak, like you said. Ukobak in full, it's a mouthful indeed. It's Uganda Community-Based Association for Women and Children's Welfare. I am married to one man. We have 4 children. I was born in Kenya, but I'm Ugandan. My parents were exiled in Kenya for a period of time. So we are a family of 7. And 6 of us were born in Kenya, and then we moved back to Uganda. So I have been partly raised in Kenya and partly raised in Uganda. So basically, that's who I am. I don't know if that's sufficient.
Yes. It's always difficult for people to say who they are and what they stand for.
Yes.
So Francis, welcome to the CEO Bench. We want to know more about you as an individual. How did you end up where you are in what you're doing today? Since you said you were born in Kenya because your parents were exiled in Kenya, why did you choose not to stay in Kenya than to return to Uganda and to end up to what you're doing today?
Yeah. Really, that was not my choice. That was my parents' choice. I'm sure them living in Kenya was not by choice. It was because of the circumstances at that time. And so when everything settled down, they chose to return to Uganda, and we were taken to schools in Uganda. Unfortunately, when I came into Uganda, when we came back as a family, I only spoke Swahili. I couldn't speak anything else. So getting into school, it was very difficult because, of course, in Uganda, we don't speak Swahili. It was very difficult to speak, to speak English, to speak the local languages in Uganda. So I had to go backwards. So many times in the classes as I was progressing, I was usually the older one in the class because I had to go back, a number of steps. But it was okay. Somehow I was fitting in. Did my primary school here in a school called Nsube. Then from there I went to Tororo Girls School for secondary, finished my secondary, went to Green Hill, did my HSC, then went to university. Where I did a first degree, and while doing actually when I was in my senior 6 vacation, I asked my mom that I wanted to do some voluntary work. I wanted to, to do something other than sitting at home. So she was, at that time, she was working with a non-government organization as well called Forward, and I was taken in as an intern. So I worked there. It really kind of gave me the first experience of working in a civil society organization. They were focusing on work, supporting women to participate in leadership positions and so forth. So it was very intriguing at that age, but it was not yet my time to really, work. I wasn't very sure, but I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And for me, it was very empowering seeing what was happening in this organization. And when I went to university, I did social sciences, majoring in sociology. So I think my choice for the university for the course that I took was because of what I saw that was happening in this organization. So I did my sociology course, finished 3 years, and after school I told, again, I had a conversation with my parents and told them, you know what, I feel like I want to do the work that I did when I was doing my voluntary work. So do you think you can help to talk to your peers, because they were doing that? My father was in politics, but my mother was doing civil society work. And at that point, I was taken in Yukobak. Yes. As an intern. Yes, so it was immediately after university that I joined Yukobak as an intern. And I started, doing simple work. I was really doing support work in the organization. But I was very eager to learn about what they were doing. It was very interesting, but also the kind of work that they were doing, working with women and children. I thought that was something that was very powerful. I moved to the field with the staff that were in Yukobak at that time, and did, I would do the support work of giving out paper or serving tea or serving, you know, anything that I could be, you know, asked to do. But in the process, I always sat in the classes for the women and the children, and I would look at how the staff were impacting on these lives. It was very interesting to see how people's lives were transforming, you know, from nothing to something. So really it built, it built my interest, but also I felt that I wanted to know more about how I can contribute in a more meaningful way in this sector.
Wow.
Yes, so I worked there as an intern for some time, and I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything else. To me, because I had arrived, if I should say.
So basically, your mind was corrupted, and this is where I'm going to be.
Yes, I had arrived at that point, because really for me, what was very important to me was transformation, was seeing lives of people changing from nothing to something. And the fact that in this environment was showing me that it is possible to contribute in one way or another to change an individual's life. So it exposed me. I came from a background, my parents, I wouldn't say it was a very poor family, so I had not got that exposure. So working in this environment really showed me the reality of the world. I came to see that actually majority of Ugandans were living in poverty, were vulnerable and needed support. So for me, it was fulfilling to work in this organization, and that is how I started my career in Yukovac.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're joining the CEO bench, that right there is getting you into what we call knowing somebody personally, and of course getting into their life. That is Frances is the executive director of Yukovac, and she's on the CEO bench. If you're joining us from anywhere in the world, we're live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and House of Talent /Facebook. Please tell your neighbor and tap your cousins, and this story is going to be a very interesting one. As well as on Twitter, wherever you are, tweet, show, share, retweet, and make sure everybody gets to know what is happening. Frances, I want to just take you straight to this. And in today's changing world, it's rapidly changing world, learning to lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time creatively is critical to our ability to make positive impact. And this television program is about those that are at the top of doing that, or those that are rising up to the top of doing that, and the focus is on transformational change and the implications for the individuals who are in that space as leaders, or in their organizations, or in the culture of the organization, or in our society, depending on what structure that we're in. Your story that you have given in the intro of this interview is very important, but we want to know something more specifically, lining to your organization, which is civil society today. Give us a sneak peek of the life of a woman in that space.
Oh, that's a very good question. The life of a woman in this space is just the same as the life of a woman in any other space. It's not an easy space, especially when it comes to leadership, and when it comes to influencing decisions and also influencing processes in any other institution. So it is not an easy space for a woman. It is a space where a woman has to do something extra or do something more to be able to prove that they are able to do what they should be doing. So I would say that it's the same. It's very competitive. Many times we see that in many civil society organizations, still we find them to be male-headed, and we're having many women, many girls taking up leadership roles in civil society organizations. But it's not an easy task. It's where we have to really prove ourselves that we can, lead these organizations to greater heights. And there's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done, and many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to to go for extra learning or to go for work outside Kampala because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true, we have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces. So it is really changing with time. As more women get into leadership positions, it's changing, and there's more appreciation that is coming towards women, because women have demonstrated, many women leaders in civil society organizations, like in any other institutions, have demonstrated that they are able to excel, to move these organizations to greater heights. So I think it's changing with time, but it's still very difficult for women to take on leadership positions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Francis, I like the journey, and I would want to ask you one more question just before we go into a break.
Yeah.
The leadership journey and the little information about the organization you can't relate. You said you ended up there.
Yes.
Starting into the process of
internship,
and then luckily your mother ended up taking you there, and now you are in that space. We want to know more about this organization. What are the issues that you are working on as you go back at the moment? Having started there as a child.
Okay.
I would call you as a child because
yes,
you are young.
I was a child. I was a child. At that time, I was probably barely 20, maybe 19.
Yes.
A grown-up child, I should say. So the reason why I say my mother took me there, my mother was one of the founder members of this organization. And she had been in politics before, and then later changed course and decided that she wanted to do something for women and children because that's her passion. So she started this organization. And I admired her for a long time. When I was little, when I was young, my mother used to do a lot of work around mobilizing women to participate in governance processes. And we tagged along as children at home when she went for trainings in communities. And I admired the way she spoke to people, the way she impacted lives. So when she started this civil society organization, this NGO, I asked her, can I come and work with you? Can I support you in this process? And she took me in, but didn't take me in. She was very strict because she gave me a lecture at the beginning and said, okay, I'm taking you in, but you're not any special. You're going to come in as an intern. You're going to make tea for the staff. You're going to to type. In those days, they would type. They would handwrite, and then they give you to type so that you can learn. And you're going to it will depend on you on whether you will get a job or not, because I don't hire. I have a board that hires and fires. So I said, okay, I'll take it on. And many times people think that because this was an organization that was started by mother, that it was easy for me. It was actually more difficult for me because I had to prove myself beyond. I had to prove to her. I also had to prove to the board that I can be, I can work here. I am not taking advantage of this. I can do my best. I can contribute to this process. So so I got into this organization, and one thing that I did is that I worked hard. I worked hard at that time with the roles that I was given. I did them to the best that I could do. If it was typing something or, you know, going to support staff in the field, I did my best. I did not at any one time feel like, oh, I am someone's daughter, I am special. My mother is you know, she's the founder member here. Yes. No, I did not have that at all. I worked hard, I proved myself. And when there was an opening for program officer, I put in my application. And I competed with many other people, and I was taken on as a program officer in the organization. And still, as a program officer, I worked hard. I delivered. Excellence is always something that I strive for. So I worked hard, I delivered, I proved myself. I moved the organization to, you know, to the level where I felt it should be at that level as a program officer. And I have moved in this organization from one level to another. I started off as an intern, I became a project officer, I became a program officer, and now I am the CEO. So it has been growth within the organization that has not been handed to me, but I have worked hard for it. I have had to prove myself. And yeah, and I think really what I can say around that is that many times when girls or people are given opportunities in the organization, we take things for granted and don't put in a lot of effort to make sure that we prove ourselves and grow our careers within that organization, or you know, move the organization from one level to another. And for me, that's what I did differently, and that is how I've been able to reach where I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was not like come here, hand it over a silver plate, and receive it, go with it.
No, it's been really hard work. Yokobak is actually governed by a board. So even if we had we had other CEOs, they saw the work that I was doing in this organization. I was a young girl, but I was working hard. I was striving to learn, went back to school, did my master's degree. I got a master's degree in human rights, came back and tried as much as possible to apply what I had learned. And I think that demonstration of hard work and dedication has really been something that has moved me from one level to another, to a level where I am now a leader in this organization, where I started as an intern.
Wow.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, Francis, why did you choose your mother's path, not your father's path, for being a politician? Why?
Well,
why not the politician in your father?
Yes, I know. I've had that question a number of times, and actually some people have always thought that probably I should have taken the political side. But for me, the passion that I have to, like I said in the beginning, the passion that I have to serve communities, underprivileged communities, marginalized sections of the community, for me that is closer to my heart. And I think politics is not a bad thing to do. My father did it well. Many politicians are doing it well, but it's not yet my time. Probably, I should say that. But what I'm doing right now is very satisfying. I am supporting women and girls because, as you know, our society looks down upon women and girls because it's a patriarchal society. So for me, I use my experience to inspire girls, to inspire women to be better, to improve in their homes, to improve in their places of work, and to contribute meaningfully to the development of our country. And I feel for me that is also politics in itself. If we can support women to be able to participate in leadership positions in politics, that is politics itself.
Wow, you've heard it from Francis right there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the CEO bench will continue the discussion with Francis, and of course we'll be asking Francis more on the leadership, change management and transformation, which is what this show really stands for. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break.
For me, leadership is a privilege of moving people towards a destiny. And for me, it would be towards God's agenda. That's the best, moving people to God's agenda. God has an agenda for everybody. And I know some people will say, oh, it's too much of God, but God has a plan for this world. And so whether you're in business, you're a medical personnel, if somebody came to you, a good medical leader says, I want you not only to be healed, but to be healthy. That's the kind of mindset that I see, and it's about self. So if you ask me, am I a leader? By the grace of God, I am a leader, and I am growing as a leader. And I thank God for that privilege of being a leader. And who is a leader to me? It's very simple. Someone that has a vision, but it is also someone that is there serving people. For me, that's a leader. Vision is where you want to take things. Serving is the recognition that if the things do not matter to people, drop them.
Wow.
Drop them. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do must make a difference in people's lives. Anybody who has had huge impact in history, in leadership, the impact is not measured by just the things they did, but what those things did for people's lives. Did they make a difference? So it's useless for you to make so much money and the money does not add value to people's lives.
Wow.
So for me, yes, you have to have a vision, and at the end of the day, you are serving people. Again, it doesn't change. Leadership is leadership, whether it is at what we would call a lower level or a top level. Leadership is leadership. It's about influence. It's that influence that comes from you have a vision and you are serving people. So what changes is the level of responsibility, but the other one that people don't like is the level of accountability. You see, Jesus said, to whom much is given, much will be required. So the only differences there is the level of responsibility. When you're at the national level, you are now responsible for an entire nation. When you are a CEO, now you're no longer just looking at the department, you are looking at the entire entity. The responsibility has changed, the accountability even goes higher. Hi, this is Julius Wotlonyo, pastor at Watero Church. Thank you so much for tuning into House of Talent Television. It's a great, innovative way of doing TV, and particularly for being a part of the CEO bench, talking about leadership. You know what, friends? Leadership can be tough. Leadership can be lonely, and the dynamics of leadership keep changing. I want to encourage you, watch the CEO bench so that you can get to hear real practical tips on leadership from people who are actually practicing leadership. Once again, thank you for being a part of the CEO bench right here on House of Talent Television.
Back from that break. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course this is the CEO bench. Francis Birungi Odong is the executive director of Ukubak. I will not attempt to pronounce it or to mention it fully before I get completely lost and then I get sued for messing up with the name. But Francis, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And to all of you out there, please share this far and wide. Make sure that this story coming from a woman, if you're a woman, share it. We got the third female on the show this week, and she's giving us the story of how she's made it to the top of being the executive director of Wukobak. Francis, We went to a break when you were telling us the leadership development. Let me start by asking you a question on this second one of the show. What is your understanding of leadership?
Okay, my understanding of leadership is really a gift from God to guide others and to support others to be able to do what they do even better. For me, that is leadership for me. To use a gift that you have to be able to support others, to guide others, and to direct others in a way that can make them perform better or even contribute better. Yeah, for me, that's leadership for me.
Okay, so what is self-leadership to you?
Self-leadership is, to me, leadership where myself, as a leader, for example, I am able to guide myself, I could use the same words, to guide myself, to direct myself in a way that I can be exemplary to the others, in a way that I can be an example for others, or, you know, in a way that I can develop as a person in a way that others can be able to benefit from my growth. So that is self-leadership for me, having that focus on yourself to grow yourself into someone that can be an example to others, someone that can direct others, someone that can, you know, support others, or someone that can be able to guide, you know, others to a particular direction, you know, in order to achieve something that is for a common good.
Okay.
So for me, that is self-leadership.
Wow. That said, Francis, about 30 years ago, Ukubak was started.
13
years?
30.
30 years.
Yes, yes.
I have been reading about Ukubak, and about 30 years ago, it is said that Ukubak started.
Yeah.
But, of course, we would argue that this could be the oldest NGO or organization in the country,
yes,
in that regard, in
yes,
its category.
Yes.
And we want to know, fairly a young person leading it now called Francis Birungi Odong as an executive director, how does it feel steering this kind of an organization with that kind of weight?
Yes, it actually feels great. It feels great, and also it's a challenge at the same time, because I feel that as a leader of an organization that is one of the oldest organizations in the country, I have a burden on me to ensure that this organization does not collapse in my hands, because that will be bad for our generation as leaders.
Yes.
So I feel that it is something that is very exciting. It is empowering. It is something that is really empowering for me, especially as a woman, to be in the steering wheel for this organization. But at the same time, I feel that I have something to prove. I have something to prove in the way that I have to show that this young generation can lead. It can lead differently, and it can, you know, move this organization to greater heights. Okay. So that is how it feels for me being in this position. Yeah. But I know for sure that as a young leader of this organization, I am supposed to look at the good things that have happened by the older generation, that have been able to move this organization to where it is.
And build on it.
And build on that. Yeah. Yes, because if I don't look at the history of the organization and how the founder members and the other leaders that have been in the organization have been able to bring it to this level for 30 years. You know, Eddie, that civil society organizations are very fluid. Many times they fail to go beyond even 5 years. Yeah. So there is something about them that they had that I feel I need to tap into, so as to be able to move this organization forward, so that I can also hand it over to the younger people to move it over. So I feel that I need to do more. I need to do my research to find out what it is that they have done, but also what can I do with the environment that I'm in now, in my time. What is it that I can do for this organization to make sure that it is stronger than it was before, but it is also a healthy organization to be handed over to the next generation.
Wow.
Yes.
So feeling, Francis, is a thought. Feeling is something that goes in the brain of a human being that is processed. But there's what we call responding to a specific stimuli, which is action, signal sent.
Yeah.
Do you think you are doing it right now?
Yeah, good question. I think I am doing that. I am doing that because I've got a good note from the, the founders of the organization, but also people that have been leading before. And I feel that I'm doing well in terms of action, in the sense that UCOBAC has really grown from who it was to who it is now. Just to take you back, as an organization, we started with one program area, which was basically working with orphans and vulnerable children and supporting them in different ways. But from, probably 1 or 2 years back, the organization has taken on other program areas. We're now operating with 4 program areas in sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence, issues to do with climate change, and women's land and property rights. So for me, the fact that we are able to do more than what the organization originally thought it could do is amazing. But also it shows that we are able to respond to the needs of the time. And I feel that a good leader is one that is able to transform the organization to be responsive to the needs of the current times. And that is what I and my team are doing to ensure that we are responding, we are relevant.